Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands. Today it's WNR601. It's NXT Stand and Deliver. I'm not alone. Of a pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod, and of course, toxic AEW Stanhausen. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Hey, welcome back to the NXT podcast, or at least the NXT episode of the WNR podcast. I'm excited to be back. So I'm happy to be here in a good mood, even if I don't sound like it all the way. I don't know. I feel like if you listen to the show and I be like I come off a little too excited. Usually that and like by the end of the show, we talk so much to where you can see my excitement degrade. So it's just like I try to temper the way I start these things and try to start it all. I want to pace it well because it depends on how things go. But I'm excited to catch back up with NXT. We have so much wrestling going on that it's kind of easy to get. I mean, think about the anniversary show and just how long it take us to talk about two promotions in WWE and AEW. But we have expanded over the years, and we talk about New Japan. We talk about so much stuff. So it's cool to kind of sit back because like this is the original. Like this is when we first started, it was just me and you. I do NXT usually, and then it kind of grew into where we are now. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it that way, but it's kind of cool to kind of check back on NXT and just like go through this journey because it is a long journey with you when it comes to NXT, and we got so much to discuss. But yeah, I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, it's literally like we start a new era, especially as we, like kind of turn 600 as well. It's like, okay, here's the fresher 100, I suppose. I'm not saying, like I said, I've dragged you through the years and I appreciate you being here. There's no doubt about that. Uh, right, so we've got five NXTs, Stand and Deliver, plus the Hall of Fame and NXT Revenge, because I want to kind of wrap up WrestleMania weekend as well. But we're going to start with notes from TNA. Yay! And we had TNA Sacrifice, which was March 27th. Leon Slater defended his X Division title against Eric Young. The Knockouts World Champion Ariana Grace defeated Danny Luna and Lee Ying Lee in a freeway. And then in the main event, Steve Macklin got caught by a wicked kick by Mike Santana to stop it in its tracks. I mean, it just shows how dangerous wrestling truly is. And again, Monty, like you said, we have breached out, and this has kind of turned into. I try not to talk about TNA too often, but there are a couple of points I'm going to make. And again, unfortunately, Danny Luna has left TNA now, which is a damn shame. And also, I don't know, obviously, you saw the clip of Macklin taking that kick, and man, that was rough, you know?
Yeah, I think every now and then wrestling fans get a reminder, because wrestling is such a paradoxical type of thing in my opinion sometimes because we watch people and a great example is new AEW newer AEW. He's not that new now, I guess, but new AEW champion Darby Allin is a great example of how you could just watch somebody survive and go through stuff to where it's like Darby does something every other month to where I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's no way Darby is gonna be around wrestling,
Mm.
and surviving these things that he puts himself through. But to be fair though, so I think the paradoxical thing is you watch a guy like that, you watch wrestlers we know who have a history injury, power through injury. Hell, part of the charm of watching wrestling, even if you think about a babyface and a heel, is watching that babyface or watch that person suffer through the match and fight through and persevere through it, some type of even if it's a phony injury. I think this is why me and you don't like the stretcher, or even me. I'm bringing up now. Osprey, your neck. We get it. Why do we got to do a you're almost dead spot every week? It's because every now and then you get reminded that bam, one thing can go wrong, or like angle on a move can be off, or just it doesn't take much at all. And then we're looking at it, and now we got a guy out for however long it may be. Sometimes they end up hurting ending career. So it's always very, very like I'm always very, very like cautious and just like it's one of those things where I love watching spots in wrestling where it makes you like again favorite one of my favorite wrestling series. If you ever just on New Japan World, and you want to watch some people try to kill each other. Watch any Ibushi and Naito match ever. They did spots where it was like, oh my goodness. But you look at them both now, even though I think they both should still be in prominent positions wrestling. If you look at their bodies now, it's kind of shown in that style of. I love watching. wrestling that makes me clutch my pearls. But at the same time, wrestling that make you clutch your pearls can end up very much like that, where you have people with broken bodies. So I think as a fan, you have to. I think that's why it's also extra annoying when fans don't seem to appreciate uh, wrestlers as we should, because it really they're taking a lot of risk just to make us smile or have a good time for every few shows that we get a chance to see. So I did see that spot. That was really, really interesting. As far as the Danny Luna thing goes, it's really, really interesting and it sucks. I hope Max, of course, recovers. But again, those things just part of our realities of enjoying wrestling. It really can go either way sometimes. And as a matter of fact, we'll talk about another spot in NXT that I don't think an injury came from, but every review we do, we probably gonna look at it and be like, you know what? I'm glad they're not hurt if they don't end
Yeah.
up hurt. So it's kind of crazy like that. But as far as Dan Luna goes, I just think that's just another example of what I'm becoming a theme. And this is why if we do talk about Impact, I be hoping that when we talk about them, we get to talk about something that's pretty positive. Because as a longtime Impact fan, I'm not a person who try to talk bad about them. But Impact, like I always say, has given you so many reasons to be frustrated with them over the
Mm.
years. So I just think that not being able to lock her down, and I'm not surprised. It's a lot of stuff going on with Impact roster wise, and not allowing talent to work with AEW or work other shows, even though they're not really being paid like that or well. So I don't blame a Danny Luna. I don't blame anybody. If Leon Slater, whenever his contract, if he want to go to WWE or spread his wings and go elsewhere, I'm not surprised or shocked by anybody if this is the type of management decisions that will be made under the TNA banner. And right now they're just turning into a farm system. We talk about how many people in WWE could come straight from Impact. But look at AEW too. Like right now they're just becoming a farm system for the two major promotions in America, if you really think about it. And I think Danny Luna will definitely be back on someone's screen under some promotion and winning championships again, because I just think they lost out on a prime opportunity, because we talk about what is one of the weakest things Impact has going for right now, and that is the depth of their women's division. And Danny Luna should have been that flag bearer. I know things didn't work out with a lot of drama with the Slamovich and all that type of stuff, and then you lose Jordan Grace to WWE. But I think Danny Luna was right there to be the person that they should have been putting everything into when it comes to Impact. So it's unfortunate for Impact that they couldn't keep her. So yeah,
Mm.
those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, like I said, there's so much like we've got to talk about, and I would love to kind of elaborate on points. Talk about like Bret Hart's career ending with just like a super kick. So again, I think we
Yeah,
forget just how dangerous wrestling is. And Danny Luna, like I said, the landscape for women's wrestling is huge. And I just thought at that point with Danny, with the heel character that she had, that like I said, she was building up. But if you want to try it elsewhere, then by all means, I'm not going to be that upset. Like I said, that is wrestling. We'll crack on with NXT, March 31st, Roadblock from Madison Square Garden. We started with Dark State versus Mike Santana and OTM. And a frog splashing on already. Guerrero could not seal the win for Santana. A spin the block and out the mud on Sugars sealed the crowd pleasing victory. Later backstage, Lennox raged and promised to make sure no one was safe at Stand and Deliver. I'm sure everyone is really scared. Santana looked like a star in this. It's a good way to start. And again, we've mentioned it. I should say Santana's contract's up in the summer. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, that's the most interesting part about this. Like you mentioned, I think the thing is Santana is someone that I could see prospering especially if you think about what we'll be talking about soon as we go through these episodes of NXT. You know what I mean? Like Santana can be a great person to kind of add, if they're gonna make him go through. I'm sure they will make him go through that system at least a while before you can see him in WWE prospering. I think Santana has the uniqueness of really being like, I know if you want to say, you could say Damian Priest might be the only person that I can think of on the main roster that can kind of be in his, like, not only demographic wise of just like culture and all that, but I just mean even like just like style and impact. Like I really, when I look at people now who I know are established that's coming to WWE, I try to look and see, can they fill a role that WWE don't necessarily already have field. And I do think the Santana has a chance to stand out, especially on NXT first off. But I do think even in the future on the main roster, he has a chance to stand out in different ways from most of the rest of the roster on the main roster. So, again, it'll be interesting to see. I think at this point, we just playing a time game with people like that, because I definitely can see him. He's already done the AEW, thing. He's already done it. So I'm pretty sure if he's looking for something new, and unless he wants to stay loyal to Impact, which again we talked about it. I don't know if that's the best decision. So yeah, I definitely can see him having a bright future. And like we've been beating this drum, and I will continue it because I know we have stuff to talk about, but the men's division, I'll take all the depth we can get when it comes to NXT's men's division right now.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be very, very valued if he was to make the jump sooner rather than later.
Yeah, right down. NXT went right to Vic Joseph interview with Miles Bourne, who thanked No Quarter Catch crew and Ethan Page for making him a champion. Johnny Gargano arrived to warn the North American champion that he needed this win. Bourne also said Johnny is one of his favourite North American champions. And again, I don't want this show to go long, but there are so many, right? Even during
Hmm.
our run, as I call it, it's like Johnny Gargano, Mello, Ethan
Yep.
Page, Obafemi, Wesley, obviously Adam Cole, Keith Lee. I mean, even the Velveteen Dream had a great run. I think it's nearly
Hmm.
impossible to have a shit reign. I mean, sorry about Leon Ruff. I will say
Yeah.
that. You know?
But that was at least memorable. Like even the worst, even like I said, even the worst was I can think of. I do have fond memories of that run. Like the North American title probably don't get enough credit because it is an NXT branded belt, but I believe that it's probably one of the most underrated in that way for just for particularly for that reason. I believe it's very very underrated because like not only the quality of said reigns, man, it's just the talent, man. Like you said, the Adam Coles, you know what I'm saying? Of course, Keith Lee. Like, there's plenty of people that you didn't even mention, that we haven't even mentioned yet. But like you said, just in the last few, like the last 4 or 5 North American champions in general have been pretty great and like have had great moments with that championship and memorable moments. So. And again, I think so far as we'll talk about it because I do think he gets a couple of, for the most. I think Miles Bourne actually gets almost every. I'm pretty sure every episode Miles Bourne gets something. So yeah, like Miles Bourne is doing his. They're doing a good job, at least giving him. They're not. He's not one of those guys who just pops up in backstage vignettes and he's the champion. So far, they've been making him wrestle, and I love that for the lineage of that belt.
Yeah, without a doubt. NXT Tag Team Championship number one contender tournament, the Birthright versus Los Americanos. And Los Americanos immediately pushed the pace against the Birthright, flying around and in and out of the ring. Ariana Grace and Lexis King got involved to set up Stacks comeback, nearly picking up the win. When Charlotte Hill arrived to run off Grace, King and Dempsey forcing the Hills to fight fair against the Luchadors. El Grande Americano arrived to distract the referee. Los Americanos loaded up the mask of bait with a metal plate and hit a running headbutt for the victory. I mean, fucking Stacks. But I mean, that's the only thing I didn't like. And of course, Shiloh Hill. But I mean, even in the mask, Tyler Bate is fun to watch. Like he's going to get over and spite himself.
I'm very happy that you appreciate this because I know usually when you talk about the Los Americanos, you don't seem to be that optimistic, and I get it. We know why. We know who's under those masks, like you said, Tyler Bate, of course, Pete Dunne. Like we know uh, that they deserve a lot better, but at the same time, this is another great testament to just how freaking solid and just how great they are as professionals that they can definitely get this over. It's similar to Ludwig, the
Mhm.
original, or not the original. He's not even the original, but still, you know what I mean? Like him under the mask, and just like how over he is in Mexico, and like I've become to still not really. I'm glad they kind of got away from the political aspects of the original version of it, or at least what they seemed like the original version of it was hinting at. So I'm glad that's what they've done. But the professional wrestlers they put under that mask, even if you want to go back to the original with Gable, again, just great work by all of them. Because again, if you really think about it, if you think about how opposite those guys are based from the character that they're playing now, this could have been like something that you get in and could tank your entire career, and you end up released. But I feel like this is something that's keeping them employed because they're, like you said, they're working their asses off, and like you said, a lot of people seem to enjoy it. And even for NXT, I don't. We talk about this all the time. It's great to have that caliber of wrestling in my tag division again. I'll give you that.
Right, now, up next, Kalani Jordan versus Jada Parker. Jordan took shots at the injured arm of Jada. Miss Parker fought back by countering the one of a kind, followed by a German superplex, hypnotic, and a deja vu for the victory. And again, this is another solid match, and this is what NXT does right. I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm going to shit over on this show, but
Yeah.
the women's division is not one of them.
No, 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 no. Women's division is by far the strongest point of each and every entry, and it's been like that for a while. And if it's one thing, like I said, Shawn Michaels or whoever else want to take credit for it, if for our last few runs, basically since 2.0, the women's division has basically just been booked miles ahead of everything else on the show. And this is another great example of it because this is a feud not about belts, just two ladies who just are not on the same page at all. Don't get along. They didn't get along when Jada was a heel and Kalani was a face. They don't get along. When Kalani is now more of a heel and Jada is more of a face. And I do kind of love the sequence because I think now since Jada is face, you saw it a little bit in this match and even in the next encounter, that Jada as a babyface seem to be improving on the selling side, and I think Kalani's character is shining because of the facial expressions and everything she's allowed to do now as a heel. So it's been really cool to watch them kind of improve, make each other improve by feuding and like improving together. I love Jada Parker kind of getting like with the deja vu. I like that because the hypnotic it can be a good signature move or whatever, but I do think she needed something with a more of an impact to finish. So yeah, this was a good little match. It wasn't even that long, but again, like you said, I think because we know the heat between these two and the intensity that they have brought to it, I thought this was a pretty good match to kind of for this chapter in the feud. Really good
Yeah,
match.
without a doubt. The Vanity Project found Blake Monroe backstage, offering a backup against Tatum Paxley, but the Glamour promised she was not threatened by Tatum. And then we got General Manager Robert Stone facilitated the contract signing for the NXT Championship. Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, all go from Page and Tony D'Angelo signed the contract in that order. Afterwards, the former Don warned Stone to get out of the ring before a brawl broke out. Page and Tony put Saints and Hendry through the tables and fought until security flooded in. Saints and Page promised to be on the same page at Stand and Deliver, but
Mhm.
still threw verbal barbs at one another after signing the contract. But seeing Tony sitting with Ricky reminded me of school. Like I thought, why wouldn't you have the two guys that like each other next to each other? But sometimes you don't have a choice. And also, Monty, NXT
Yeah.
should invest in the plastic title holders New Japan has. They're very easy just to put your titles on, and they look quite nice.
Yeah. I agree with that. Especially since we seem to be guaranteed to have some type of contract signing or phony press conference or whatever. We seem to get that more and more in WWE anyway. So why not? This was fine. I think at the end of the day, if you watch enough WWE, you kind of know this is all part of the formula. That's the reason why I think the best moment of this was Tony D telling Stone to get out the ring and like because we know how this thing goes, like yeah, we're gonna probably fight. That's usually how all of these situations turn out. So yeah, man, I kind of I gained a lot from that in that point of view. Other than the promos themselves, it is what it is. I do find it funny, and I'll talk about this when we get to the end of Ricky's run, but I do find it funny who ended up going through the tables because they have something in common if we go off portrayal, but we'll leave it that way.
Well, up next we had Jasper Troy versus Kiana Carver with special guest referee Josh Briggs. The brawl continued around the ring where Carver threatened a fan and Booker T. Troy made him pay by sending him through the announce table. He hit a black hole slam in the ring, but only got two. When Troy questioned Briggs' count, the referee laid him out with a big boot, setting Carver to hit a running power slam to win. Afterwards, Carver demanded Briggs raise his hands, and when he did, Briggs followed up with a clothesline from hell. And Carver, I don't know if you noticed this, using a running power slam as his finish. Thanks for listening. We did mention that in the last update.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Uh, thank you for something. I mean, I like the pounce. Like I said, the finish is fine. Everything else though so far is just no selling and just a little bit of but like make sure you bark at Booker T. That's pretty much the only interesting thing he really does. Bark at Booker T. And since Booker T probably won't get in the ring on NXT television as a competitor, we're stuck with the way less interesting opponent in Jasper Troy, who don't really have much to offer either. Literally, as a matter of fact, he put somebody through a table, and like a minute and a half later, he's peeing and he loses. It was very, very. I've never seen that before. Like, yeah, running power slam, cool and all, but you did your finisher, which is about. By the way, Joshua Troy do the boss man slam again. Great finisher choice. Like they got, it's just everything else about these guys and me to where I'm just like. Then you got Josh Briggs, who's just the ultimate. Let's turn the channel and let's do
Oh,
something else. And he ended up standing tall in the end.
mhm.
So yeah, I was not really a fan of this, but let's get to the much better main event, please, or
Uh,
whatever came after this.
Well, we got some bad news next. Elio Lafleur announced he would be out for 6 months and was vacating the men's speed championship. First of all, I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know what the championship was. But apart from that, I'm sure he will be missed. Charlotte Hill arrived to attempt to lighten the mood and come up with an idea for a match before running off. Stone later announced that the Birthright would fight Hill, Eli Knight, Hank and Tank, and Ren Sinclair on the stand and deliver countdown. After his announcement, Stone
Uh,
was confronted by an angry Carver, for he's pulled away from a continued brawl between Jada Parker and Kaladi Jordan backstage. Tatum Paxley called out Blake Monroe and spoke to her with understanding of her
oh yeah.
unique delusion. The Women's North American champion wanted to face the Glamour stand and deliver for a title, and Monroe was interested. However, the Glamour refused to get up the gold she did not earn and was laid out again. I could be the goth to your Glamour, I could be the fire to your hell. Paxley with the line of the night. And NXT showed a dramatic video package highlighting the year-long collapse of Zaruka selling that match than anything else at Stand and Deliver. Um, yeah, I mean, just this is the go home to Stand and Deliver, the biggest show of the year as well. I should point that out.
Yeah, sure felt like it, huh? Great promo from Patrick though. I thought that was cool. I didn't like how Blake ended up still getting away with the belt, but it is what it is. That's fine. I'm pretty obviously, that's a sign that this isn't over because we got a big match coming up. I love that dynamic, and like Paxley, I think she's getting more confident as a character. I think Blake is a great pro for her to kind of work with in the ring and outside the ring. It's brought out a pretty cool side of her. At least she seems so much more confident now, and it's crazy what a title win can do for you. So yeah, I just think she's really getting there. She's really improving. With we'll talk about that more. But as far as the video package goes and all of that, just rudimentary, kind of like I mentioned with the contract sign. This is all formulaic, just very WWE stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably why I kind of just like don't even really feel that big because they're not doing anything that big, honestly, for this stand and deliver. Like this stand and deliver don't really feel like stand and deliver. But we'll talk about that more.
Yeah. The number one contendership for the NXT Women's title was Lola Vice versus Kendall Gray in the main event. We saw Vice lock in a sleeper hold when Gray slipped free. Vice knocked her out of the ring with a spin kick. Fatal Influence arrived to trash talk both challenges for JC Jane. Vice
And that's
nearly
all
won
they
off a
did.
yeah, Vice nearly won with a second spin kick. Gray nearly knocked out Vice with a spinning back elbow. Gray caught Vice in an ankle lock, but Vice fought through and transitioned into a guillotine choke. Gray rallied in a Northern Light suplex with Bridge, and as the referee counted three, Gray tapped out, leading an argument between the referees. Shawn Michaels arrived and tried to smooth things over, leaving an uncertain result for the Stand and Deliver NXT Women's Championship match. What a horrible way to finish the match. And the night, what a horrible, horrible end. I can't. I love
Yeah.
NXT. I'm laughing, but I'm crying inside.
Yeah, going fading to black with confusion like that. I mean, I understood when like Vince McMahon limo blew up and stuff like I understand. I understand fading to black on those type of endings, but like when you had a. By the way, let me just go ahead and do this. I'm glad you brought it here because I just thought this was, and I saw people online. I saw people who I didn't even know watching NXT giving credit to this match. So I'm happy that we got people watching NXT also with us because a lot of people really caught wind and was told to go watch this match, and I agree because I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and I'm gonna ask you a question. But I just think this was one of the best. Just like if you just look at everything that they did, whether it was the striking exchanges, whether it was the submission exchanges, some of the reversals that they put in this match for something that was only about 13 minutes, 12 minutes. I just thought it was really one of the most well wrestled matches I've ever seen, especially when you think about we're talking about NXT and we're talking about like still considered development. I know Lola at this point has become, and I think that's kind of what's shown through to me is like how much improved Lola is and how I think AAA and everything is making her just a more confident wrestler in general. And I think this match is a great example of it. And I thought Kendall was excellent also. Like to me, this is one of those times where like, you know what? The internet been telling me, and I know I like a couple of her moves or things that she does. Like I see what they're going for Kendall Gray. But this right here is the match that I would show somebody, and I would say that's why everybody's telling me that Kendall Gray is next up because of that type of performance, in my opinion. And I think this match was a great example of it. So I wanted to ask you because I've heard you seem to understand the WWE and they like her, but don't you? And did you get any of that from this match? Did you really like the wrestling before we got to the we gonna bitch out and not get a finish and we just gonna do the whole confusion thing instead of making a decision on air?
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? This is a great matchup, and it's one of like you said, all this talk about people liking Gray, and then it's finally a performance that can be good. But I think, like I said with Lola as well, her development. Who would have thought going and to other promotions and having new experiences would make you a better worker, eh? You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe that's like they should do. But I thought it was an excellent match. But again, it's like one of those things where you show someone wrestling and then they got to finish like this and you have to kind of be like,
Yeah.
oh well, yeah, we'll forget about that because it's the it's the 15 minutes leading up to it. And I just thought building up to Stand and Deliver as well, they had time to for Sean to be like, oh, we'll make a triple threat or something rather than
No,
leave it,
definitely. And while they were just
like.
talking and doing all the confusion, they definitely
Mm.
could have just I agree 100%. Like, just go ahead and tell us right there. Well, we're gonna either sudden death it right there, which you probably didn't have enough time to, so don't, and just say no. Both ladies, has a valid claim, and we're just gonna have a triple threat. And you do it that way, and then we end it off that way, and that would have been way better. Like you said, especially going into the pay-per-view instead of doing the whole confusion. Even though we're gonna get the announcement and all that anyway, like I think everybody who watching enough wrestling, but you're 100% right. I didn't think about it that way. From my eyes of someone who's well tenured and watching wrestling, and someone who's looking at it from like not only a critical standpoint of like just a wrestling fan, I'm looking at it also from a developmental standpoint of just like, oh, this is great. And look at how
Mm.
improved Lola is. You're 100% right. Maybe I'm gonna be a lot more into like the intricacies of every spot and like the reversals and all that. But you're right, 100%. Somebody who just showing them wrestling like, hey, there go WWE's developmental. Watch this match, and then the casuals a lot of time don't really get all of that. The finishes is what stick with them the most. And so they're
Yeah.
gonna look at that finish and they're gonna be like, oh man, that the look they did some cool stuff, but who won? You know what I'm saying? And then now
Mm.
you got a whole conversation that you don't necessarily need to have. So yeah, I agree. The finish definitely take away from the match. But I think just before that, man, it got me very much interested if we get down the road and they just run this back and just let them go for 15 minutes 20 minutes, how good it can actually be. Because I thought they blended amateur wrestling and MMA and, of course, entertainment. I thought they blended that very well, as close to perfect as you can get from this standard of NXT, if you ask me.
Yeah, without a doubt. Robert Stone is the new GM of NXT. It has been confirmed, and just think he managed Von Wagner, and now look at him. Who would have known that Robert Stone would be one of those survivors? Like we just don't know in wrestling. TNA April 2nd, the Knockouts champion Ariana Grace defeated Zaya Brookside. Um, Stacks and Grace surrounded Lee Yee, but Mike Santana came to the aid. Stacks attacked Santana and got laid out with Spin the Block. Great. April 4th, Stand and Deliver in studio. Mega Moran, Sam Robertsberg. We got to sit down with Lola and Gray. It will be a triple threat match now. And they are called crossover athletes. That's what their name is. They were mentioning this a lot, and again, I just thought they were. Yeah, I don't know, but that's what they call them, crossover athletes. We got to sit down with Anti Project, and we actually have a match, which was the Birthright, Charlie Dempsey, Lexus King, Stacks, Uriah Connors, and Ariana Grace taking on Hank Tank, Shiloh Hill, Ren Sinclair, and EK Prosper. Now, who the fuck is EK Prosper? Well, that's Eli Knight, is now EK Prosper. Maybe they didn't realise how similar the name was. After initial brawl, everybody involved, Hill and Connors were the first legal competitors, but the tag started straight away. And even with some rough edges, this ended up being a fun contest to start the action on the night. And again, Hill ended up scoring the win for the pin and his team to get the win. I don't know, Monty. What do you think? Again, I've got no argument having a kickoff match like this to warm the crowd up, and do you know what I mean, and everything else like that.
I think the best way to kind of explain it is just like simply it was fun. They got in a lot, you know what I mean, and I thought it was fast paced, but it was just fun. Like at the end of the day, sometimes, especially for a pre-show match like this, you do what you kind of do to just have some fun with it. So I didn't have a problem with this. I thought the ladies and all filled in their role entertainingly enough. And so yeah, I thought again they got what they could in the time that they did, and I thought it was pretty fun. And
Mm.
at the end of the day, especially when you got 10 people out there trying to make things happen, it definitely did its job in my opinion. I think for the time they had, for how many people were involved, they really did. They did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's weird to see Dempsey and Ren on different sides, you know. And I guess matching outfits didn't do shit in the end. My internet went down before this match. I wondered if it was a sign or not. And I did see Hill winning. What would you give this out of five to start us off?
I'll give it a 3.5. I don't think it was bad. I thought it was right exactly where you probably wanted to be.
Yeah, I'll go 3.5 predictions. The WNR Prediction League 2026. This is after Chamber, Revolution, and Vengeance Day. So this is before Dynasty and WrestleMania. So, but we are when we do Backlash, it will be all up to date.
Wow.
Don't worry. This is just I know. This is this is I got so confused when I'm doing different scripts of different episodes, and then the predictions are all over the place. But we will be there. Bonus at the moment. Monty on 9, I'm on 12. I mean, Gina's on 8 and Jax is on 5. I should mention them as well. All birthright apart from me, so I got a point. The rest are on 0.
Good
And then we got
job.
set. I know. I saw Hill winning. I know they love Hill. It's they like him backstage. It's the old Kendall Gray. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's the man. But the thing is, and it's how much he just reminds me of Baron Corbin. And I know I'm an old
Yeah.
NXTer, but like it's just
Yeah.
they're built from the same cookie cutter. Do you know what I mean? Like I know
Yep.
personalities and stuff, but
A goofy Barry Corbin is a pretty good way to kind of describe what they're doing with him. So yeah, I don't. That's a good. I just thought that because the birthright supposed to be a newer faction. I'm like, all right, well, let's heels win, right? Oh, so no, of
no,
course
someone
not.
taught
They're
me WWE hate tag team man factions now. So
yeah,
I
that's
know.
true. That's
Sarah
true.
Schreiber, Blake Howard, and Robert Stone standing on an entranceway. It's what we want. The main show, and of course, we're in St. Louis. Now, Monty, you're no longer riding the cock, are you? It's on
No.
YouTube now or something like this. What's happened, man?
No. Yeah, I'm no longer riding the clock. I'm not giving. I refuse to give multiple platforms. They want me to give Disney, which is ESPN. They want me to give them my money. They want me to give the cock my money. They want me to give it, they want me to still pay for cable so I can watch SmackDown and NXT. Like, bro, like, no, I'm not doing it. But yeah, to be fair though, this one I got lucky. I go through some other nefarious means to watch most PLEs at this point. But this one, for some reason, literally, this one was streamed right on YouTube, like you said, for free. And I got YouTube Premium, so no ads,
Oh,
pretty much. I mean, you got the WWE related ads, but I didn't have anything really stopping me from watching it, and it was a smooth stream. Watched it all the way through, man. Like, and I hope if NXT decides to just become a YouTube thing, that would be really nice if they were to just stream their PL, kind of like they do with AAA. I see AAA stuff sometimes streaming on PL on YouTube. So if they decide to go that route full time for NXT PLE, that would be nice for people like me who no longer wants to ride the car. But yeah, that's how I saw it.
That's an end of an era. Shawn Michaels kicked off the show in ring with a speech before introducing Sexy Red, the host of the show. I think Shawn said, "Right, if you're not down with that, we got two words for you," and she just went, "Fuck it," which again, very entertaining. Several video packages to hype the matches. The main show began with JC Jane defending the title against Kendall Gray and Lola Vice. Fallon Henley, Laney Reed, and Sinclair were all at ringside, but Vice was alone. Jane was sent out of the ring by her two challengers before Vice and Gray started fighting each other. And even with no disqualifications, it was nice to see the women at ringside staying out of it the majority of the action. And Sinclair chased Henley and Reed out of the arena, so Jane's backup disappeared. They did a great job making it hard to tell who would win, but in the end, it was Vice who nailed Jane with a spinning back fist to get the pin. And your new NXT Women's Champion is Lola Vice. Wow. Monty, great way to start the show.
I think that was the best part about it for me is that it wasn't even really about like the decision was very cool and I had fun with it. Like, okay, they did it. And I was very happy for her because again, like I mentioned, I've watched her along this journey. But again, this was another well wrestled match. Like I really do believe, and even JC James parts, I thought she kind of chimed in on the dynamic of Vice and Kendall Gray. They kind of played off each other really well. And then like she played a great heel role, and almost I do love even some of the callbacks to like if you ask me some of to uh the callbacks to like how she kind of retained. I think in the last triple threat she was in JC James, so like that was even a cool moment. To so it, I felt valued because I felt valued in a number of ways watching this match. I thought this was a really well match. You know I love triple threats. I'm a sucker for them anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like valued because for someone who wasn't really a fan of JC Jane being a champion, especially as long as she was, and I remember being just like, wow, what a decision to make with the roster you had. I came away from the end of it like, you know what? Say what you want about her. I do think at the end of the day, she did a good job, at the very least, a passable job. Every time you needed her to do something, she was at least solid to me. I don't think she was trash or horrible. I've seen a lot worse than what Jason Jane gave us as champion. And even in this match, I thought she was really good. And then again, I felt justified to being like, okay, I see the vision for Kendall Gray. She definitely has a bright spot. She probably will be champion, of course. But Lola Vice, I just felt justified for her because I always thought that, and I think maybe character wise she still can grow, but as far as like in the ring, she has finally really just got it down in my opinion. Where she don't feel like she's merging just merging MMA anymore. Like yeah, she used a spinning back fist, and I love the guillotine that she uses and how she uses it and all that. But I just think as a wrestler in general, she really does deserve this because she has grown to a point to where I understand her being on top, and it's very believable that she is the best woman in NXT right now. Like we kind of watched her grow into this, so I felt justified in that in watching it, and I just thought they did a good job. Like it was a great way to start it off. I thought the decision who won it was great. I thought the execution of the way it happened was great. It was just a really strong way to do it. And what else do we expect? This is like the golden division of the show. You could have made the argument this should have been last, man. Like with you think about the division, just how important the women are at this point to NXT. And I'm happy and I'm excited to see what Lola can do on top, man. I hope they keep it going. I hope that they continue to book the women's division strongly now with her on top. And we're finally over. We finally passed the toxic attraction, or toxic whatever what is fatal influence. Fatal influence. That's the name. We're finally out of this reign, James. So that's another positive. So I just thought this was great all around. Plus, plus, plus.
Yeah. The camera went weird at one point. My guess is Lola gave JC the finger. I mean, I watched the repeat on Netflix, so I guess that's what she did. And again, like you said, we joke, but what a run for JC Jane. May of 2025 until now, she's basically been the champion for 250 days and also TNA Knockouts champion as well, it really is good. Fallon really should be on the standard deliver card, but people like Gray have seemed to be passed her by. Like you said, Lola deserved her moment. My only issue with the whole thing has been this kind of. I have to mention it. Meltzer saying that Gray is going to become the greatest of all time. I cannot remember a wrestler being able to live up to the hype, and I hate the fact that he said it because she's literally just starting out as well. You know.
Yeah, I do think it's a lot early. I think I looked at it a little bit differently just from the perspective of, I do think what to that type of expectation, I do think that's kind of insane, especially coming from him, somebody who don't even really values the WWE style as much as he values other styles of wrestling. So I do think it shows you how high some people really are on her. But I do think, like you said, some people are going to take that out of context. I do think that's a lot of pressure, but I don't think it matters or to her. I don't think it should matter to her in a sense. Like she does have the amateur wrestling background. She does have a lot of just, in my opinion, she has a lot of potential to be someone who I can see WWE putting a lot into. But I do 100% agree with you when it comes to like being careful. We should always be careful when we're so early into this run for Kendall Gray. I do think, but I can see the potential. I'm not gonna say I disagree or agree with him. I do think it's crazy coming from him, but I just believe that Kendall Gray definitely has potential to be one of the greatest in WWE, especially in WWE's system and just the way they mold talent. She already has the in ring, uh, you know, she has the cues in ring style. Like I love it. Like I always, I'm placed in lofty standards too. Not to that extent, greatest of all time. That's insane. Because how do you even measure that? It's gonna always be
Mm.
arguments for, there's gonna always be arguments against it. But I just see them molding her in a sim, and I've also heard that she's taken to wrestling in a similar fashion to Kurt Angle. That's lofty enough to me. If you see what I'm trying to say, like you just said like that. Like I see the vision of not never. That don't mean she'll ever scratch the surface to be that good, but I'm just saying I can see that type of blueprint for her.
Yeah. All right. So out of five, then what would you give it?
I give it 4 3/4. Like I really liked it. Again, I'm biased to triple threats. Only thing that's stopping me from really giving it a 5 stars because I just feel like uh I think it got more to do with like the anticipation and build of it. Like I knew JC was probably gonna I knew JC wasn't gonna survive, but because of the ambiguity and like kind of deciding we just decided a contender. Imagine what this match would have been like if these three had been like in a stalemate type of feud for over the last few months, legitimately, instead of it being like such a free fall up until this point. So I just couldn't really give it 5 star perfect, but I do think it was really, really good for a triple threat, and I'm happy with the result. So I gave it 4 3/4. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'll go 4 3/4 as well. Predictions, we all went grey, so I'm still on one. The rest are on zero. We got Vanity Project versus Lost Americanas for the NXT Tag Team Championships next. Grande slipped the metal plate to Rayo to put it in his mask, but Smokes ended up taking it from him while the ref was distracted and put it in his trunks. Bravo tripped him on the top rope, and it was implied that the metal plate caused extra damage. Both teams came close to winning several times in the final stretch, but Drake, Baylor, and Smokes get the win with a cheap shot to Bravo behind the referee's back. Monty, those names make no sense to me, but what
Yeah.
are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, listening to you talk, it's just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, just go back to calling them bait and done. And I don't even say the other guy's name. But Brad and Ricky don't help either, I guess. So whatever. Anyway, especially Smokes. What a nice name.
Oh god.
Again, this is my first time really kind of like looking at the Vanity Project in a good match setting, and like it's one of the things where I think this is kind of hard to rate them because how much of this is I'm not trying to take away from how good I thought they looked. 'Cause I thought for someone who I look at and I can tell are still young, they show flashes of pretty good potential. I think they're already annoying and like they're good heels enough. They already seem to be booked well enough as heels to be annoying, and I think that's good enough for now anyway. Maybe eventually they can grow into even more. But they also in there with two of the best, and like I said, it's really hard for me to kind of gauge this one. Like we talking about Pete Dunne, who, come on, man, like NXT work alone. If you really think about it, same thing with Baden, like everything he's done in NXT UK, and just like so, it's really really tough to kind of gauge just how much was this the I think the young guys did a good job of not. They didn't look like they didn't belong, but you can also make the argument that maybe the Americanos and like the veterans that they are just carried them to a really good performance. Either way it go, I didn't think this was bad. I thought this was a pretty good defense. I thought it was a fun match. Everything was pretty well executed. And again, this was not bad, not horrible. 15-minute, pretty good tag clash in my opinion. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad Bait done at stand and deliver, but I should have known that my hatred is just as strong as my love for wrestlers. So I wouldn't have forgiven myself for going for the Vanity Project. I'm gonna give this a 4 as well. And predictions, everybody went Vanity apart from me, so everybody is a 1. Great. Ricky Saints told Sexy Red to stay near him, and then we had Sol Ruka versus Zarya up next. Ruka wasted no time going after Zarya. She went to the ring and hit a springboard clothesline before music had stopped playing. The ref called for the bell and the action got underway. Immediately, Ruka kept up the aggression for a minute, but once Zarya regained her footing, she started overpowering and throwing Ruka around. They slowed the pace down in the middle so Zarya could keep Ruka grounded. Once it became a back and forth fight, they started to pick up steam again. Ruka hit the soul snatcher on the steel ramp and another in the ring, but Zarya managed to kick out. The high flyer kicked out of an F5 and tried to get a former friend for a brief moment, but all it did was light a fire up. Ruka managed to recover and hit a third soul snatcher to finally secure the victory and end a fun encounter, which will not be the end of their story.
Yeah, I kind of came away from this one just kind of turned off from it. Even though I think a lot of the reason why I was turned off of it kind of it didn't get answered, but I kind of like you said, everything about this just said it wasn't over. And like I think for me, I it just goes back to what I said about not feeling like this stand and deliver was like actually what we look at and how we look at stand and deliver as like NXT WrestleMania because I don't see how you can book a feud for this long with a payoff that took you forever to kind of get off and then the blow off match is not at the biggest show. And I know we're gonna get something in like literally a couple of episodes or whatever, but I'm just saying in my opinion uh I just thought that not only Cesaro should have won this because no one desperately needed a victory more than Zarya. I just think the intensity of this match was just like they don't. This feud is not about proving who the best, and I just think the whole entire thing of singles match and them not really seeming like other than that start and like the way Saruka started off and like they did kind of overwhelm themselves a little bit. I think with some of the stuff they tried at time, and that kind of took away a little bit too because I don't think everything landed appropriately. But I just think that honestly, for a feud that was supposed to be so personal, and we talk about betrayal and we talk about this and that, it just wasn't vicious enough, in my opinion, for something that's like the match didn't in no way, shape, or form live up to the story. And I think a lot of that has to do with WWE. A lot of it has to do with the pacing of this story and just how long it took for them to tell this story that we kind of been waiting for to kind of like, in my opinion, to I've been waiting for it to end because I just saw either I felt like if you could have cut this story in half, the length of it, Zarya and Soru could be doing so much more and so much better for themselves individually in NXT. I know Soru at this point, her time, we can talk about it as it comes up as far as like how much longer she has in NXT at this point and questioning that. But when it comes to Zarya and Sol Ruka, they both could accomplish so much more in their NXT run. If you just think about how long they've been bogged down in this, will they, won't they, do they love each other like that, or is it like a do we, then we get the late betrayal friendship thing? It's just they played this game for so long that I kind of wanted to end here, but everything about this match definitely, like you mentioned, said we're gonna be doing this at least one more time. So,
Yeah.
in hindsight, I can look at it with way more appreciation than I did that night. The night of it, I was just kind of turned off by it. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, the frustrating thing is like I said, better booked. This could have been the NXT Women's Title match in the main event. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? If people had done it right,
It had
but
the story for it. It had the
yeah, it's
story.
just. Soa did have a fire in this match. Her attire was definitely a choice, and Zarya is still a loser, but the crowd were into it, and Zarya's facials were excellent. And like I said, I hate to say it, but I think with Zarya, we're going to see a completely different side to her once Soul has been detached, shall we say? And I think that it would
Yeah,
only be a good thing. Out of five, then what would you give this?
I give it 3.5. Like I said, I thought it had good moments, and I got behind the narrative of it. It's just like I said, there's just too much in it that kind of turned me off to it while at the time of watching it.
Yeah, I'll give it a four. Predictions against Zarya, so we're all on one still. We are not doing well. We're meant to be NXT experts, and we've got one after four matches at this moment in time. The men's North American title was up for grabs next when Johnny Gargano challenged Miles Bourne after initial exchange. Gargano went down in the ring and seemed to be falling back into his depression, but it was just to sucker Bourne in so he could take him down. Candice LeRae interfered to help her husband, and it almost allowed him to win with the Gargano escape, but Bourne fought his way to the bottom rope. In the end, Bourne prevailed to retain his title. The crowd didn't look too excited about the outcome, but this was the right decision in the long term. Dion Lennox attacked Bourne from behind with a steel chair after Gargano left the ring. He slammed the champion onto the chair and left him lying in the ring. So it looks like we know who the next challenger will be. But there's one thing: Johnny Wrestling always delivers, isn't it? Always.
It's just something about that man, especially in the NXT lights, and I just think also we're giving it the consistent thing too for Johnny. I know a lot of people look at it as Johnny in NXT is one way and WWE is another way, but I just also think he's been giving way more of his style of like things and like not only storylines, but like you're 100% right. I mean, at this point, I wonder how many times, if it was a counter or somebody tracking the show, just how much love on the NXT pod in particular we've given Johnny Gargano, just in general. Like not only back in the day, but like it was great to see him back. And like you said, once he in that mode, and even when it's with guys like, and I'm not saying Miles Bourne isn't great. I'm just saying guys like Miles Bourne who are on the come up, even if it's not somebody that you know he has great chemistry with. He can bring it out of you, and I thought he brought the best out of Miles Bourne in ways too, in this match. So it was a really good match. It was great to see him back in the ring and giving it all, and like, again, he was helping to showcase Miles. And again, I think Miles has also put in a lot of work to get better, and I think you can kind of tell too. So again, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if that means he's gonna do more in NXT or whatever, but it would not. It'd be nice. It definitely watching this match definitely just made me feel like Johnny got has so much more to give, and I just if it has to be in NXT for us to watch him give it, and he could just be one of the only like, what if Johnny ended up being like the only WWE superstar to end up like Hall of Fame just based off what he did in NXT. Like I think that's how great his body of work is at this point when it comes to NXT. But yeah, man. Hopefully, if it doesn't give him some leaping, I think I came away from this match saying this was great for Miles Bourne. He looked great, and he's gonna benefit from this. And I just hope that this can lead to Johnny Wrestling being Johnny Wrestling again somewhere again more frequently on our screens.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Johnny was doing this when we started reviewing NXT together, so it was always nice to have him back. And he hadn't actually lost at a stand and deliver until this event. And Miles Bourne is in a weird kind of place as well because he's kind of the last of the NXT class before kind of Evolve and LFG. Do you know what I mean? And these
Yeah,
crossover athletes now. So Miles is like a traditional NXT wrestler, kind of just
right.
doing his stuff. And he didn't look out of place. And what's really good is I'm glad DIY are getting featured weekly right now. As I was watching this, I was like, DIY are still around. Fair play
That's
to
true.
Champa as well. And again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Miles, if he is not Randy Orton's young boy when he goes to the main roster, you are fucking it up. You just even if you do like an Eric Angle type thing,
Yeah.
you've got to use him in that
Also,
way, man.
also, I can see this too. I mean, depending on what Randy's doing by that time, they love not odd couple, but they love a little random tag team.
I was gonna
Imagine
say,
them I know now again, maybe if Randy's in the tag division actually get booked, But yeah, but yeah, I don't see how you could do that. I don't see how you could not have Miles, pop up on our screens and not have some type of association with Randy at some point.
yeah, without a doubt. But yeah, the match was good. What are you gonna give it out of five?
maybe he can be like the first member of like a new legacy if Randy want to do that.
Well, that's what
Uh,
I don't want to get too carried away. But again, even if it's just like literally just his young boy, you know, the guy like an
mhm.
Miz has had it. How many has Miz had throughout the years of
That's
a
fair.
guy
That's
just getting
fair.
beaten up? Do you know what I mean?
That's
And Randy's
fair.
like, "Hey kid, you can use my RKO, or you know, call it the Miles Cutter, or you know what I
Right.
mean." Anyway,
The
anyway.
mouse cutter. The
Yeah,
mouse
I'm not,
cutter. The mouse cutter. But yeah, I give it a match for the quarter. I thought it was really good.
oh fucking hell! I've been watching too much New Japan with the Callum Newman Will Ospreay stuff. I think. Right, I'm gonna give this 4.25. Predictions. We went Miles. Rule on two. Izzy had words for Soul, and the Women's North American Championship was up next with Tatum Paxley putting the belt on line against Blake Monroe, who may have had the belt in her possession, but she was the challenger in this case. Paxley went for Monroe before the bell, so the referee quickly called for the bell, allowed him to continue fighting. After Paxi was slammed onto the steel ramp, she began favouring the left shoulder. Leads me to say, so Monroe targeted it. Looked like Monroe was going to get the win after a glamour shot, but Paxley kicked out, then hit her own finisher for the pin and the win. Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
I thought this was really good, man. I thought they went back and forth, for a good, 15 minutes. Some pretty tough bumps because, like, at this point, I think we kind of established Blake Monroe is going to be stiff. I think that's what I like the most about her, that she don't give off that vibe if you look at her, but looks can be deceiving when she wrestles. Even in AEW, it was like that. When she wrestles, man, she packs a punch, and she's brought that to NXT to the best of her ability. Is it toned down versus Maya? Like, was Mariah May a little bit more crazy? Sure. But I do believe Blunt Blake is still in her own way, you know what I mean, bumping hard. And I thought Tatum Paxley, again, Tatum, I speak the world. Like I talk about Lola's growth, but man, like I said, if it's and it's funny that you mentioned it about Kim Gray. Like, I'm not saying Tatum Paxley be the greatest of all time. Never, I'm not gonna say that about anybody, guys. But I'm just
You
saying,
heard it, everybody.
if
He
it's
said it. He said it.
if it's somebody who does something every time I watch her wrestle, she like adds a little twink or do something that's crazy athletic, and I'm like, Tatum Paxley is like like they talk about other wrestlers like in great vein of how athletic they are, but like if you really just look at the stuff Tatum Paxley do sometimes, it's just like she is a freak and like absolutely an athletic freak, but like she also has it wrapped in a great character, which again, that's what I see when I see like, okay, money. That could be really be money because as great as Kim Gray is, the wrestling is the gimmick right now, and I don't. That ain't always money for WWE, but for somebody like Tatum, who you probably can market to, different demographics and can do some crazy stuff athletically. I mean, again, we got a lot of. We're very blessed. We just talked about. I ain't even mentioned that about Saul Ruka. Saul Ruka is also money in that way. You know what I'm saying? So we're very blessed right now in the women's division. But this is a really good defense in my opinion. Like I really thought I think they were saving stuff. I think this another match kind of like which again, this is gonna get to my overall review of this show. I thought this match was kind of in a similar vein to Saul Ruka and Zari, where it just felt like it didn't go as far as you would for something that was like a pay-per-view, massive conclusion. But this wasn't the conclusion. But I thought this was a really good match and a great title defense for Paxton. She stood tall, and I think again Blake Monroe lost but looked good also. So again, I don't see how you can look at this and not be. I don't see how you can be mad about anything that happened in this match.
No, it does make me think that Blake would have been champion if not for Thea Hale leading into this. The amount of fucking time she's held the
A
North
hundred
American
percent.
title. I think it's a future episode of NXT, they make her a custom championship, which she never held. Do you know what I
A
mean? But
hundred percent. Like she was 100% supposed to be champion all the way till this point, and that one kerfuffle kind of, yeah, 100%. They was like, we're not gonna change the plans too much. Let's just have you steal the belt.
yeah, have just have no. But like I said, I like both of these, and Tatum has become Miss NXT at the moment. I know people
Yeah.
Lola or great, but for me, Tatum is the one standing out. That's what NXT is all about, and that ramp was used throughout the night, you know. And both these are great.
Mm-mm.
It's with these two as well. It's the small things. It's the reactions to each other. It's the do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not all just big moves and stuff like that. It's when the camera comes in close, which I really like. So out of five, then what would you give it?
Yeah, I 100% agree, and that's why I think this feud worked so well. because of that. They're great. Just they're great. They're in the moment. You can tell they're both very in the moment and who they are. I gave this match a 4 overall. I thought it was just really really good. And also I think the beautiful thing about this is both of these ladies, in my opinion, are like championship material. And like that, you can't you walk away from it really really in a good mood when you watch stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I'm going to give it 4 and a quarter as well. Predictions, we went Tatum, so all on 3. Looks like Dark State are turning on Dion Lennox, but he has a plan, so don't worry, everybody. And the main event of the night was the fatal four-way match for the NXT Championship with Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, and Tony D'Angelo. Tony D and Joe took out Saints and Page before squaring off. They traded shots until the other two opponents got back in the ring to keep fighting. Saints and Page had an uneasy alliance that allowed them to control the pace for a bit, but as soon as one of them had to try and get the win, they had issues. Everyone here did good work, but Tony D definitely stood out the most. Probably one of his best performances, and it needed to be. You know, he's putting out moves you wouldn't expect him to see. And after taking out Saints and Page by putting through the announce table, Tony D hit a huge spear on Joe Hendry to get the pin, and your new NXT champion is Tony D. I mean, Monty, I'll get your thoughts on it. I cannot believe Tony D'Angelo has won, like we talk about in NXT, the North American title, the Tag Team Championship, and now the NXT Champion.
He
Like
is.
one of the most successful wrestlers
Yeah, I
in
was just about to
NXT.
say he is literally the greatest of all time. The greatest NXT wrestler of all time, almost. When it comes to like accolades at this point, and we've been here for the entire ride. And I'm not gonna act like we enjoyed all of them because man,
Uh,
that tag team run. But anyway,
oh,
but anyway, no. I'm very proud. I kind of took back and just like I'm proud, man, because as much as I gave Tony D hell when it wasn't fun, and it wasn't even that he was that bad. It's just like to me, my biggest gripe against Tony D was that he never wrestled, and so to kind of look at him now and to watch him kind of like you said, show that improvement, be a shine, because I think the match was put together to make him shine, but I think he did. At the end of the day, you got to go and perform, and I think he did enough to perform and kind of justify and show that okay, this was a great time for him to have his crowning moment. I think at the Ricky Saints and oh my goodness, Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, they and again, this not me. I'm not trying to act like Joe Hendry was nothing or nobody here, but god damn it, man, they held this match together in my opinion with their energy and just the way the stuff that they put together and the heel work and just a lot of the stuff that they did. It was very very great entertainment. And I think honestly, you because you expect it from them, you may not understand, you may not pay attention to how good they were. But I thought it was really good character work, and I thought even Joe Hendry played his role greatly as like kind of like a fighting against the odds type of hero. Now, to be fair, Ricky and Ethan were you can look at them kind of a joke if you want to, and like the trying and failing to work together. But I was very into it. I love because we kind of talked about it. That is the dynamic when were they going to turn on each other because we know that they want the same goal and how is that going to play out, and I just think they executed it really well. And then at the end of the day, we also got a chance to make Tony D look pretty damn good and look like the legitimate guy now. And I agree, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, especially when we think about like how long it's been. But sometimes James, and I know Booker T love talking about how, hey, if a guy been in NXT forever, there's a reason for it. Say what you want about Tony D. He has been here through all these eras, but sometimes if you just wait it out and you play your cards right, and everybody else get called up, you become the savior that we need.
oh,
and
fucking
I think
crazy.
that's what's going on with Tony D right now. But I'm excited to see how much more he evolves because I haven't forgotten that you were a mob boss, and I don't know if that's what he is now. Now he's just a guy. He's just fighting. He just seems like he's just a guy fighting now. So it'd be cool to kind of see what does he evolve and do WWE continue? Does WWE want to continue to just wipe our memory clean? Because you spent a lot of TV time on him just being a cartoon character, mob boss in the city. So it's kind of crazy when you think about where we are now with him. But I'm excited to see because I do like the improvements he's made to himself, not only physically but just also in the ring.
Yeah, I love the fact that they, like I said, completely switched it, and he's like, "Oh, we're doing a vignette." You go, "No, no, no, you're going to be wrestling, or you're going to be out there.
Right.
We-
You either gonna do a
you are
ring
not."
promo or you gonna wrestle.
Yeah,
No more
we are not.
pre-tapes.
Oh my god! But he's a Grand Slam champion and Mr. NXT. Ethan deserved his spot. Ricky looked like a star, and his attire is to match as well. And like I said, Paige and Ricky couldn't be trusted. But one of the things that I thought was not a long run for Joe Hendry at all. 60 days. So I did a little looking, as you do,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to see what the shortest reigning NXT champions of all time were. And again, I'm not going to quiz you, Monty. It's not a quiz. So it's Samoa Joe on 14 days, but that was his second reign. And funnily enough, 21 days was his third reign. So, but again, talking about a couple of reigns there, Ziggler was on 26 days.
Yeah. I was gonna say
But
Dolph. I was gonna say
but
Dolph.
yeah, but again, I think that's second reign. Oba
True.
31 was his second reign. Keith Lee 52. Nakamura was
Yeah, that was
56.
longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nakamura 56 on his second reign. Gargano 57 days is the only shocker with his only reign. Like, only 50. He
Wow.
chased it for 4 years, but only held it for 57 days. Like, what? Um, Sami Zayn on
Sami
61
Zayn didn't
days.
last, right? Okay, he okay, a
61
little bit
days.
longer. Okay, a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
yeah. And Bron Breakker 63 in his first. So again, but then again, we know what's going to happen with should Joe just be happy? Like I said, they gave him the title at this point, and thank you very much, and
Yeah.
move it. Because again, in the future, we're just going to say former TNA and NXT champion, aren't we?
100%. And I think with Joe it was always kind of like a cup of coffee type of deal. Not saying he didn't deserve more than that, but like Joe is the opposite of like a lot of those. Like other than I mean, to be fair, that the Samoa Joes and Shinsuke, that's kind of a different era. But like the longer reigns are gonna be usually guys that like, and if you talk about them, most of those reigns you saw were multiple times. But there's guys like in Joe Hendry's position where we all kind of can see him as a main roster talent. I didn't see him having a 600 or like a very very long reign. I just didn't see that for a guy like him. But I do think at the end of the day, like you said, he held it. They're gonna use that as like an accolade for him as he's on. But I think we all kind of came with that understanding. I mean, you saw the reaction that man got when he at WrestleMania. Most guys before they ever pop up in NXT don't get a song and all of that dedicated. Even if they lost that match, they don't get WrestleMania spotlight. So I think we all kind of had an idea that Joe would be main roster bound sooner than later. And so I just think if you are a Joe Hendry fan, just be happy he kind of had the run that he had with it. And I don't think even though he numbers wise feel like he was transitional, I don't necessarily feel like he was a transitional champion, if you know what I mean.
No, I hated it. So funny,
Also, to
fucking
make to
screw
make the
Joe.
case, was Joe Hendry, and now that I think about it, was Joe Hendry even meant to be champion, if we think about it now?
Yeah, no,
And the
that's
reason
that's
why I
the
say
thing.
that is
Yeah.
because I don't even think Shawn Michaels wanted to. Shawn Michaels still talk like recent as interviews a few months ago around Mania or last month around Mania. He was literally just saying that he told Triple H to his face that he wasn't prepared to let Javon go. He wasn't even completely sure that Javon. I believe Javon Evans over Finn probably was supposed to be outstanding deliver main event if things went
Mhm.
originally as planned, and maybe Javon was supposed to be champion right now.
I know, I know.
If
So
Triple H didn't take him already,
yeah, fuck Triple H.
Exactly. So fuck Triple H.
Out of five, then what would you give it?
I gave it a 4.5.
I gave it a four because I was pissed off. Predictions. Gina and I went for Joe Hendry. Jaxie and Monty went for Tony. So the final scores: Gina and James on three, Monty and
Committee.
Jax on four. So unbelievably, Jaxie gets a win. I don't know fucking how. Bonus: Jaxie's on six, Gina's on eight, Monty's on 10. I'm on 12. Yes, Monty, you on stand and deliver. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks to Mr. NXT, Tony D.
Oh God. Well, to be fair, I think if I'd have gone Vanity Project, but I couldn't go Vanity Project. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah, so you
couldn't.
would have won if you would have just put
And
your pride to the side, sir.
but the
Put
thing
your
is, if
pride.
if I'd have gone the complete opposite of my picks, I would have got four instead of three. So do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Sometimes, yeah. Right. So overall, then match for the night. Well, I think it's going to be Gray, Vice, and JC Jane. So who's your MVP and what's your score out of 10, Monty?
It's hard. This is a tough one, man. I kind of want to give like a. I'm just going to do. I'm gonna bitch out, and I'm gonna give my MVP to Lola and Tony D because I think in similar ways they both. You can make a case that uh maybe even more so for Tony because I don't think back in the day I thought Tony D is that's a future world champion, future like you said Grand Slam NXT champion. So I got to show him some love. But Lola, like I said, to improve to get to where she is and like to really seem like it's her time to now be the centerpiece. I have no problem with it, and like I just feel like with that match quality, especially those last two performances for her, she definitely deserves it. And overall, I give the show, again, I give it a 8. I thought it was a strong wrestle show. Like I think every match on there was pretty good. But I just, as far as feeling like Stand and Deliver, if everything that I don't like about the show is just basically comparing to what me and you kind of view Stand and Deliver as, and maybe that's our fault. Maybe we got to just throw NXT PLE energy and just like that history of like the takeovers. We know the takeover era is over, but I still thought Stand and Deliver was one of those times where NXT tried to throw their best shit at us, and I just don't know. I just think some of this stuff, like to not have these feuds be blow offs. Like if you do all of this, but we get some of them NXT main events that we got, like for NXT Revenge, for example, which we'll talk about. If we get some of those stipulations or those feelings like of just like finishing the stories, then I probably would have rated Stand and Deliver much higher. But I still gave it a strong rating because I do think the wrestling was really good.
Well, this is the thing, and I think the problem is that we compare it to old takeovers. I'm going to give it 8 and 3/4 because again, the opener gave me memories of old takeovers. You know, it's just a
Yeah,
shame that the tag team division is so shit, and they haven't built up any men or what I thought as well because I was getting quite harsh with it, and I thought, well, no, but then again, like you said, they probably had a plan. Well, they want to stand and deliver, and then they've Triple H has come in and taken Javon and Ober and you know what I mean, all these other people said that, you know, Sean's probably scrambling around and at stand deliver, like you said, he's gone, right, what have we got? And now we're going, right, okay, we've got a new NXT champion coming out of here. We've got a new NXT women's champion. This is kind of the base now. And then we've got to build off this in the next couple of months, you know? So again, I was just
right.
like, I can understand, but it didn't feel like NXT's biggest show of the year. And like you said, and
No,
I think that's the thing that for a stand into the whether it wasn't on WrestleMania weekend, you know, don't get me wrong, because again, I'm scrambling enough at WrestleMania weekend, so this to be the weekend before was quite nice, but yeah, it just
I was
didn't
happy with
feel.
that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
actually happy with
yeah,
that. Right.
but I don't know if that took away from it not feeling as special, or do you know what I mean? But again, it's not like the talent didn't try. It's just, yeah,
Right.
this is what we've got at the moment. So yeah, but MVP, yeah, Tony D. And we're going to move on to NXT April 7th, where Tony D'Angelo was the first man to arrive for the night, wearing the NXT title around his waist. He talked about his history in NXT. That led him to his moment for naming Joe Hendry, who appeared. All Ego, Ethan Page, and Ricky Saints both made their own claim, but Dark State arrived. Security then appeared, but a brawl still broke out between the wrestlers in the commercial break. During a picture-in-picture, locker room came out to finally restore order. Robert Stone announced the champion and his three potential challengers would face Dark State later. Vic Joseph called D'Angelo the first ever NXT Grand Slam champion, which does include the now defunct Heritage Cup. So I
Yep.
guess any future one would include the Speed Championship. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, good luck with that, buddy.
No, but at least like Axiom still got a chance. Do you know what I mean? Or no Amdar.
True. 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 Man, damn, I forgot about that. Charlie Dempsey has a chance.
Yeah, the chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stacks. Oh no, 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 no. All right, but
No, 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 no way.
but yeah, Tony D starting off, setting sail, and yeah, Dark State. It's just oh for fuck's sake.
Oh my goodness, bro.
Oh,
The dark state. The dark state. You know what? This lets you know everything you know about them. The most interesting they've ever been to me is when they look like they're gonna break up. So, uh, so yeah, there you go. Saquon Sugars, though, I do not hate him. I actually look at the way he wrestles and some of the things he do sometimes. I'm like, just get him out of this mess. And maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe we're finally gonna get Saquon Sugars out of this stupid faction, and maybe just maybe everyone will see what I see in that kid. But he got to get out of that faction first.
Operation Save Sugars, yeah. Up next, Sol Ruka versus Izzy Dame. The back and forth action turned in Ruka's favour until Sean Spears saved Dame for a Ruka moonsault. Zarya took advantage of Nico Vance's distraction to spear Ruka at ringside. And then the
Hey,
Dame over sealed the upset win for Izzy after Zarya told Ruka that she would tell her when she was done, sealing the statement with a forehead kiss. Zarya can help others win, just not herself. Has she
you're
thought about
right,
managing? She should be a
right.
manager. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh my goodness, I 100% agree. She can help everybody else win except herself. I just wrote after this. I was like, haven't we done this before? Like I'm just done. Like it's not even about the fact that it's them two. It's just like everything about it. Like I could have swore we didn't you just didn't you do this? And this might have been even a week before she did it again, right? Because I think she gonna do it in the live. This is before the live match, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so I'm just
But
saying, like. I don't know, man. I can't. I was very turned off, but at this point, just like, yep, predictable. Okay, all right. And Izzy at this point, they'll find something for you to do at some point again, Izzy. So you'll be back into
yeah.
it. It was what it was.
In Robert Stone's office early in the day, the Vanity Project presented a custom Women's North American Championship to the Glamour for whatever fucking reason, I don't know.
Yay.
And then we had Kiana Carver versus Jasper Troy versus Josh Briggs. Briggs taunted both big men throughout, trying to play on their anger, while the resilience of Troy helped him fight his way back in the contest. Carver pounced Troy out of the ring, then pounced Briggs, followed by a Falcon Arrow to win. Despite saying for 2 weeks that no referee wanted to get between them, Carver and Troy, the referee seemed to be fine getting into the action here, though. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, I just, oh, you adding a third man. That's fine. That's fine. Like,
This was shit. This was shit, man. I'm trying not to be so hard on Carver because he's still relatively new. I mean, not I don't know how new he is to wrestling, but he is at least new to me from as far as like they're putting the spotlight on him and they're obviously booking him a certain way. But whatever. He beat the. I guess that means he's the biggest, baddest. I guess that was the whole point of this. But I mean, I don't think Josh. I mean, we know Josh Briggs is bad, and he is big. I just don't know if it's the way that they think it is in NXT. And as far as Jasper Troy goes, he's pretty much in the same boat. Uh, yeah, man. Don't put three guys who doing the same thing in a triple threat match. Just please.
Charlotte Hill and Tatum Paxley strategized backstage, but were interrupted by Saints, who called them freaks. We then got Dark State versus Tony D'Angelo, Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, and Ricky Saints. They isolated Joe Hendry. Lennox took a cheap shot at Joe before Miles Bourne arrived to run off Lennox. This allowed Tony, the hot tag, and the champion sent the three remaining members of Dark State flying, and nearly one with a forget about it on Sugars. Hendry helped clear the ring, setting the stage for a spear and a spine buster. Page got the blind tag, attacked the champion, and one with a twisted grin on Sugars. Afterwards, Tony D laid out Page and stood tall with the NXT Championship. I mean, goddamn, Dark State is shit, But I don't think anybody even referenced the fact that Tony feuded with Dark State like 2 months previously. But again, I didn't mind Ethan Page, but this. If you'd have told me this was a week before Stand and Deliver, I would have believed you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. I agree. Like again, this is another one where it's just like, didn't we do something like this before? What like, like seriously, it was like maybe different people involved. I think it was Miles Bourne and Joe Emery was the opponents when Ethan Page kind of did a similar thing. So it's like here we go, running the same play now this time with Dark State, and Yeah, unfortunately, the best wrestler in Dark State is the one who got to take the pins. But if that gets him out of this, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. But yeah, so I don't know. Dark State is very ineffective. They've been ineffective since their fake Shield debut. So that's what this was. And you're 100% right, John. I didn't even think about that watching this. That Tony D beat all these dudes by himself. Why? What the hell he's supposed to do? Of course, with everybody from the main event stand and deliver. Of course, the Dark State ain't gonna do nothing. But
Oh
whatever.
god. The men's speed championship tournament, Lexus King versus Chaz Starboy Hall. During his entrance, he aired a pre-tape interview for Starboy, introducing himself to me. This was all Starboy for the first 2 minutes, but King saw the opening when he caught Hall diving with a boot and hit the coronation for the victory. Tatum Paxley and Charlotte Hill versus Blake Monroe and Jackson Drake, with Drake saved Monroe from a psycho trap, which set off a four-way brawl that ended with side-by-side chicken wings barely escaping the submission. With the help of Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes taking out Hill, Drake distracted Paxi for a glamour shot and the win for Monroe. Again, I've said this before. I've got no time for Drake or Hill. You know, for Jackson, I just don't like him. I just don't like the way he looks. That's simple as that. Just don't like it. Yeah. Excellent. Robert Stone announced a 2 week event, NXT Revenge, where Tony D would defend his NXT Championship against Ethan Page, and Sol Ruka Zaria would collide in a last women's standing match. Lola Vice talked about a journey to the NXT Women's Championship, putting in mixed martial arts behind her and a humbling experience in her first year in NXT. Fatal Influence interrupted to talk down about the winner. Vice, JC Jane demanded a rematch, and Robert Stone arrived to announce a rematch for next week at NXT Revenge. Fatal Influence tried to lay out Vice together, but the NXT Women's Champion sent all three women packing. So again, I'm not. Look. Do you see the problem here with the face taking out a group of people? I mean, I just don't. I don't know. But that's
Oh
their plan.
God. All I could do was laugh because then like JCJ had the nerve to stand at the end of the show, just wiping her lip like, okay, we're gonna get you. Like she just beat all three of y'all by herself.
I just,
By herself.
ah.
Like, oh my God, what a way, man. Wow. What a week for just bitching groups. Like that they just like, oh my God. Power in numbers, my ass.
Oh my word. Impact April 9th. Santina Morella addresses Ariana Grace and Stax backstage for how she's been acting recently. Santina attacks Stax as they flee into the female locker room. Indy Hartwell gives them the all clear and they both charge in. Indy Hartwell gives Santina Morella the Cobra back. Yes, you're right. That is the split that happened about 2 months ago. That now they're
Uh,
finally referencing on TNA. But don't worry about TNA. We've got more coming. April 11th was Rebellion, just 2 weeks after their last special, shall we say. And the logo really pissed me off. The Rebellion logo was like a small E and like an L and L two together. It's like, what the fuck is that say? Rebellion. Don't make any sense. Leon Slater beat Cedric Alexander in a great match, and he's on his
Great
way
man.
to the longest X Division champion ever. And Monty, I swear to God, Kaz versus Elijah, Agent Zero versus Moose, and Nick Nemes versus AJ Francis were very entertaining. But I am on new drugs right now. The Elegance Brown versus Mickey James, ODB, and Tarnell was a fucking mess. Ariana Grace defended Knockouts title against Lee Ying Lee, thanks to Zaya Brookside turning on Lee. Yes, we can't have a tag team in a TNA, it seems, without them turning on each other. Stax was thrown from ringside, didn't really matter. EC3 returned. I mean, his theme is a
Yay.
banger. You know, it is a banger. It has been 9 years since he
Trouble,
was in
trouble, trouble,
TNA.
trouble, trouble,
He
trouble,
was
trouble.
MGF before MGF, and yeah, trouble, 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 trouble. That's literally what I got written there. The Undead Realm is back and better than ever. It's not a tag team, but it's said a different realm filled with the undead and Tessa Blanchard. Speaking of tag teams, the system of Brian Myers and Bear Bronson beat the Hardys for the tag titles in a surprising result. I mean, the Hardys were close to beating the North record, but I suppose they went, fuck that, you know? And in the main event, Santina retained against Eddie fucking Edwards, you know? Like I said, the most entertaining thing at the moment on TNA is, like I said, Leon Slater and Cedric Alexander, they killed it. And yeah, they're trying. That's all I can say. They're trying.
Yeah. That's what that rundown sounded like. It just sounded like, yeah, they throwing shit at the wall. let's see let's see what sticks. Let's see what sticks.
Well, we
So
got
yeah,
more of that coming with NXT as well. But first up, NXT April 14th was NXT Revenge Week 1, or what I like to say is what Stand and Deliver should have been. We started with
yeah.
a grudge match between Jada Parker and Kalani Jordan. This was even fight until Jordan created an open with a vicious focus on the left thigh. This left Jada hobbled, struggling to hit her best offense without pain. Miss Parker went for the corner hypnotic, but Jordan ducked, sending her to exposed turnbuckle, followed by a one of a kind moonsault to win. I mean, this was good stuff. Like I said, these two, it's just good.
Yeah, they have a really good chemistry, and this is another example because again, like you said, targeting that thigh, and Jada was selling her butt off. Like she really did do a good job of portraying that she was hurt, and I thought Kalana Jordan again took advantage, showed a little bit of viciousness. Again, she also showed smarts. Like she showed she can be a multifaceted kind of heel in the sense of being kind of smart, but also, opportunistic, as they used to always say about Edge. So yeah, I thought it was a really good showcase for both ladies, and again, it's been great to watch them both on different sides, kind of experimenting with different elements of heel work and babyface work, and I think they're both doing really well. And this was a great. I know Kalani John kind of. I know Kalani John Jordan comes out because she kind of wins, and I think this is pretty much it for this feud. And she wins, and she looks like she's the one who prevailed in this whole entire get rivalry. But I think they both uh came benefited and improved leaps and bounds just in the rivalry with each other. Like I think they both came out on the other side of it looking pretty good. It was a pretty good rivalry, if you ask me.
Yeah, and again, it's interesting Jordan to get the victory here, especially as Lola kind of being the face champion, and she will need challenges, as we well know. Backstage,
100%.
Ricky Saints interrupted Charlotte Hill's construction project for Tatum Puxley to mock him. Ethan Page arrived to distract Saints to convince them that they needed to work together to win the NXT Championship. Speaking of the NXT Championship, Joe Hendry promised that he was not done chasing it, focusing his song on Tony D'Angelo and that title. Keanu Carver arrived before Hendry could get to the chorus. When Carver did not back down, Henry bashed him in the back with the guitar, but the big man was barely affected, blooding the former
Yay.
NXT champion and sending him security through the barricade at ringside. Yeah, poor Joe. Callie Armstrong made a debut versus Skylar Ray, the former Evolved Women's Champion, still to win with the Carly collection. Stephanie Vacquer found Lola Vice in the locker room and wished her luck. Robert Stone told the Vanity Project and Blake Monroe she would face Tatum Paxley next week, the Women's Championship, North American Championship, the stipulation determined by the champion. And Tatum Paxley told Robert Stone she would face Blake Monroe in a casket match, as Charlotte, who revealed he had finished making the casket. NXT Championship, Tony D'Angelo versus All Ego Ethan Page. Tony beat down Page early in the contest until Ricky Saints arrived, only to get dragged away by Charlotte Hill via extended rope.
Literally.
Yeah, All Ego introduced the NXT Championship to the match, where Page dropped Tony on it for an All Ego's edge for a near fall. The two fall near the announce table, where D'Angelo sent Page onto the barricade, followed by a spear into the table, and he finished the job with a spine buster to win. And I got to say, the belt does suit Tony. I never thought I'd say that.
True. True. He definitely do. I agree. He looks good with it, man. Again, everything about Tony D at this point seems like he's primed and ready for this moment, and he's evolved. He's came a long way from the tracksuit, and all of that. So like he has evolved in the right manner again. And sometimes you keep it simple because I'm trying to tell you at this point his gimmick is just like I guess in the back of our mind because we've been watching he's a guy from the street life who can fight, but really, if you think about who he has been since he's returned, he's just a guy who beats people up, and he just looks like, and that works right now for him. And he, even in this match with Ethan Page, again the way he prevailed and all of that, I thought this was a really good match, and I thought this was also a good kind of like last ditch thing for. I think this ended up being the last thing Ethan Page does for NXT. So I thought this was a great way for him to kind of put over the champion in a strong fashion too. Like D'Angelo looked good, and I thought Ethan Page looked great in defeat, and what an NXT run for him.
Yeah, without doubt. And like I said, it means that Page won't be around for long. But one thing I did notice was funny how similar Tony's finish is to Joe Hendry's. I don't know if they want to talk about it or it doesn't matter, but it's the same thing. Miles Bourne called out Dion Lennox, who arrived with Dark State. North American champion offered a title shot to Lennox, but he warned that might not happen if Dark State attacked him. Sugars took offense to Lennox, implying he was the leader and tried to attack Bourne, who fought him off. Lennox and Sugars had to be separated by Griffin and Cutler James afterwards. Bourne mentioned his favourite dessert without further explanation, implying a not PG answer with Stephanie Vacquer, whatever that means. I'm too innocent to know. But like you said, Monty, hopefully Dark State ending soon. Uh, men's speed check. We've talked too much about them. Men's speed championship tournament. EK Prosper versus Dorian Van Dux. I don't know if they're taking the piss now out of me with the names, but Dux went for a shooting star press and missed. Prosper responded with moonsault for the victory, and Lexus King and Birthright arrived to taunt Prosper as they prepare for next
I
week.
never want to see. I never want to see a man that size doing all them flippy shits again. Like Dory, he's like, did he not get his gimmick right? Like, who puts on that much muscle to get up there and do a shooting star flip?
I honestly,
Anyway, whatever. Who cares?
um,
Whatever. DVD. Just call him DVD. I don't like the name. Like, whatever we gotta do. I know DVD. It might break up memories for some people, but that's better than Van
oh,
Dux. What the hell are we
yeah,
doing?
exactly. Zarya explained her own perspective on the last year before telling Soul she would burn in the world that Zarya would have burned down for her. In Robert Stone's office, the GM ran down Kiana Garver for his actions and announced he would fight Joe Hendry next week. And then we got the NXT Women's Championship, Lola Vice versus JC Jane. Jane started slow, hesitant to match strikes or grapples with Vice until Fallon Henley and Lani Reed distracted the women's champion, allowing the former champion to lay her out on the floor. Another distraction set up a bicycle knee smash from Jane for the first true near fall in the match, but Henley saved Jane from a triangle with a Tiger Fake kick and set up the rolling encore for another near fall. Reed caught Vice with a slap to set up another rolling encore, but Vice ducked the shot, hit the back elbow for the victory. Callie Armstrong arrived afterwards by tackling her way through Fatal Influence. Gray appeared on the other side of the apron to stare down Vice. Izzy Dame watched for the stage, and Zarya tried to make her own statement by arriving with music, but Sol Ruka attacked her, starting to brawl to the back, where Vice stared down three new challengers. Oh, God, I'm glad there's not a lot going on, you know? Fucking hell. Oh, what
Man,
happened?
and we still got a ways to go. It's like they love. Hey, if overstimulating your audience was a reward, NXT, boy, is NXT good at that? Yeah, I mean, this is fine. I don't. It would have been nice to get more of a competitive match, but I do think at the end of the day for TV, they served their purpose. It was funny to me how honestly, Lola Vice just proved to me that Laney Reed, I believe, punched like a bitch. Like she don't have a good punch because like right after that, she took the punch and then right after that gave her finish to Jace J, and that distraction was pretty worthless. But yeah, so it was pretty cool. This is a cool thing. And as far as the teasing who's next, sometimes it'd be cool. Sometimes I think we forget, especially in this deep ass women's division, it'd almost be more effective if just one person came and stared her down, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. Impact April 16th had nothing fucking good on there. So then we get to April 17th, which was a Hall of Fame. And I thought I'd put this here as the best place to cover it because usually I think we do cover it on the stand and deliver podcasts, and it gets us to finish the WrestleMania weekend that we started fucking, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, it seems now. We got the red carpet with Jackie Redmond and Pete Robertsberg. We got Big E. We saw Mello and Kalani. Danhausen with his wife. Javon was alone, I guess by choice, whatever. Miz and Maurice. God damn, Maurice in that black dress. Oh. Dennis Rodman, he looks old, but he said NWO is for life, and that's why he's wearing a Hogan top. And he mentioned the Hulk Hogan statue. Now, I don't know if you saw the statue for Hulk Hogan, but I mean,
Good
fucking
color on that
hell.
guy, huh?
I just, well, I'll just, yeah, man. It's definitely a
Wonder what he
choice.
think about that. Yeah, wonder what he'll
Yeah.
think about it. But to be fair though, I told you once before that growing up, he especially Hollywood Hogan, used to wear that tanner pretty thick.
Fucking hell.
So, maybe he would appreciate it. But yeah, yeah, very interesting. Go, Dennis Rodman. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Dennis Rodman is the one saying it as well. And I'm just like, okay, Dennis, you've not, I just don't know. Our Truth mentions little Jimmy, the Miz, Road Dogg, and his big brother John as who to induct him into the Hall of Fame, which I think would be pretty cool if it was little Jimmy. It was just silence for 10 minutes before he came out. We got Priest and Lola. Priest must have told Lola to leave the belt in the hotel room and don't look like a mark. Don't bring your title with you. Nick Aldis and Mickey James. Of course, Mickey is in the TNA Hall of Fame. She didn't mention it. Punk might have wore the same suit as he did on Kickoff. John Cena was in pinstripes. He said he still works with the WWE. The match with Cena says something really fucking interesting on the. I know it's the countdown to the Hall of Fame, but he said the match with AJ Styles is the only one that he watches from his retirement. And again, I just thought I know he's trying to do that as a tribute to AJ, but I think that says a lot about his last run as well. Like that's it's crazy with
Fair,
admitting.
fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. He loved that moment though. He not only that AJ moment. I really came away from a lot of stuff Cena has said about AJ, with just saying really, really. I know it's really cool, but like for John to be such a WWE guy, and for him to have such this immense respect and love for AJ, for somebody who was kind of formative years of the 2000s, we're watching both on two different brands. Be the guy in a sense. Even though TNA refused to book AJ like he was the guy. Don't even get me started on that. But don't get me started on AJ Styles' run and impact and how much more he could have done. But anyway, the point is that it's really, really cool to watch two guys, two pillars of my era in two different promotions have that. Because again, he's talked glowingly about not only just that match with AJ in retirement. And again, I agree. It definitely says something about his retirement if you could only watch one from that run. But it also, in my opinion, just tells you the immense love and respect he really has for AJ because he has put AJ over majorly. You
Mhm.
know, since just in a lot of interviews post retirement, like he really loves AJ Styles.
No doubt. We've got Stephanie Vacquer. I guess Miles wasn't allowed there. Triple H, Nikki, and Brie Bella. Nikki says she won't leave Brie's side. McIntyre with a nice wife, but he can do better. He said he's standing on the shoulders of giants, and he tells Jacob the bloodline love to wear spandex, but should wear latex. He's always got the line, isn't he? Hold you, Drew. There you go with a 1-2 punch. AJ Lee and CM Punk. Lynch, who looked great, and Seth Rollins. And Becky just seems to be great out of character. Every time I've seen her, it just seems to be a laugh. Seth, not so much. Seth, you seem a little bit of a, But to be fair, the respect for AJ was off the charts. Like everybody asked, it was just, yeah, AJ Styles is the man. On to the main show. I do like the Undertaker is kind of Mr. Hall of Fame now. We got Cole and Miz hosting, and Cole mentions WrestleMania 27 with Cole and Miz winning. And Miz is a good host. He didn't show when we started off with Stephanie. They didn't show any clips from Stephanie versus Vince McMahon at No Mercy, which I thought was probably Stephanie's best match of her career. And she apparently is the greatest person ever, apparently ever. Linda McMahon with Steph's daughters. They have their dad's nose. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't need to be told after watching a video telling me what she's done. The video should be there. Each daughter shared a unique moment about Stephanie as a mother, and you can see Triple H getting a little emotional. Linda just fucking rambled on. And then came the mighty Stephanie. To say it went on longer than necessary would be an understatement. It was almost 40 minutes into the show before Stephanie came out for the first inductee. 40 minutes. Linda mentioned Shane hurting Stephanie, and they could not mention Vince, and Vince got the thank you, Vince chance. I'll tell you what, I am lucky I watched this after night two because the self-serving fucking sycophants made me fucking sick, and I would have gave up WWE forever after night one watching this shit. But Stephanie thanked everyone. Some of it she said was interesting, like going on a date with Andre at 14 years old. Maybe that's how the macho stuff
Mm,
started. I don't know.
mm,
Triple H flirting first whilst he was in a relationship with China, who saw him as the
mm,
man of her dreams. Um,
mm.
she was half the show, and it was just again. I don't know if you can tell, Monty, but it made me a little bit pissed off. I don't know if the notes came across like that.
Yeah. What a vanity thing. I'm not. I don't go as hard on Stephanie, because I never really disliked Stephanie. But like when you think about, like you said, we know who's in charge, we know who's putting it together, and you just think about how much of this turns into, and then you hear, and it's not even. I get it, Vince. I'm not one of those people. I can look at it from both points of view. Like Vince is trash. Vince has done a lot of bad stuff to people, and he's allegedly a very very sick individual based on all the information that we have. But also, I also know that Vince is who Vince is. Vince is the creator of this thing that we love. So I do understand how some people may have a weird relationship, but like it comes off when you look at this production as a whole and you listen to Linda and you expect, don't even get me started on the politics of it all, but besides that, and then you know who runs it, you know this is all Triple H's production at this point, to just sit there and listen to a family be like just have like it just felt so the most vain you could possibly think of, like just vanity, 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 for like you said, for like an hour, for like it'd be different like if Stephanie, and you know what, if this was Shane, and I'm not, and I know this sounds crazy, I'm not even doing this on on a weird like gender based stuff, I'm just saying because I remember all the crazy shit Shane did for his father and like just for our entertainment, like all the bumps he took. At least I remember him in wrestling, like a wrestler would, somebody who played the roles that she played. Like, was she a meaningful character in WWE? If you want to look at it in that way, maybe if you, I don't know anybody who remembers Stephanie memorably and just like looked at wrestling because Stephanie was there. She was just always a part of the show. So like even if it was Vince himself, I would understand this much time being given to it, and et cetera, et cetera. Because at least it makes sense. But for Stephanie, who kind of played a secondary role most of her career, and like I'm not saying she wasn't a good heel at times and didn't have a good run, sure, but it's just like would we be doing this if she wasn't McMahon and wasn't a McMahon production? Would we have to sit through all of this if that wasn't the case? So like I think that's the thing that kind of grates on it and make it even worse. It just kind of felt cultish too. Like when you hear the Vince and you get all the chance, the love for Vince, we gotta sit here and applaud all of this stuff about who gives a shit who flirted first. I don't really care about the inner inner workings of the relationship. Like who in wrestling has a parasocial relationship to that point with Triple H and his wife? I don't know anybody who looks at it that way. That so it just again, it just very felt weird. You know what I'm saying to me. But I'm not. The problem is that I think some people looked at it and came away from it maybe shocked, and I just don't think that you should have been shocked. Like, why are we even surprised at this point? Like, we talk about it every time they can. They're gonna mention who runs the show now in Triple H. So why not for his wife? Or they're gonna not bloviate and just talk like she just had like we did again. If you listen to them talk, this is one of the, if not the, this is no, I was about to say if not the, no, this is the most important woman in WWE history.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I might not mind if Stephanie's induction if it didn't come a year after the whole Triple H fucking bollocks
Right.
of the whole.
That's
Do you know
another
what I
great
mean?
point.
It's like how many times do you need to pat yourself on the back and say how great we are? Because again, it just seems like you're entertaining yourselves and not others. I just hated it. Bad News Brown as a legacy award. Again, this is something that could be argued. They rushed this bit. Even they didn't even mention Stampede Days. You know what I mean? Where he's feuding with
Right.
Brett, which again was my introduction to kind of Bad News Brown. His family was shown in the audience and the crowd stood up to show respect. But he won a bronze medal at the Olympics. He deserved fucking more. Do you know what I mean? How many of you won a fucking medal at the Olympics? Like, come on.
Yeah. A hundred
Um,
percent. 100%.
Demolition, the video played for Demolition's induction. Several superstars talked about the group being their favourites. Haku, Arn Anderson, and
Ooh, I ain't seen Warlord
Warlord,
forever.
not Wardlow. Wardlow wasn't there.
Warlord.
Warlord which made me shocked that he was still alive because I was
Right.
like, dude, like, how did you get by? Like,
Right.
anyway,
If
um,
you know, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
If
know,
you've
you
seen him,
know.
fucking
Yeah.
hell. And Warlord mentioned Demolition being a three-time WWF champion and being in WWF all the time, and they kept censoring it like he was swearing or something like that. But the thing is that I just thought, my God, isn't age horrible? You know. But then again, when I was a young kid, Demolition and LAD were kind of tag team wrestling, you know. So credit to Axel Smash. They came out with huge smiles on their faces and soaked it up. Both had a, again, this was so rushed. I felt really, really bad. They did manage to mention Crush and put him over as a great partner. Darso pointed out his
Which was
wife,
cool.
son, and daughter-in-law, grandkids. Bill Eadie said he never thought this day would come. And what's crazy about this guy is that he was replaced by Crush for being too old in
Hmm.
Demolition, and yet, you see what I'm saying? Like he's
And
still
yeah,
around.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah,
They
it's
said
crazy.
they talked about doing a run in, or as Edie said, it would be a walking. He also pointed to his entire family. They managed to get under it in half hour. I really like Bill's speech; it's nice. But the Repo Man in the Hall of Fame, you know, it's like I just sometimes. I just-
Hey man, hey, when you get handed that shit hand, maybe he deserves it. And some of that, you know what I mean? With that gimmick, god damn, if you can withstand that and do something of note in your career, you can survive that, man. But yeah, no, this was cool, man. As I agree. I think it was unfortunate that because we have to spend, and that's my overall argument about it being so much for Stephanie, who again was never really an in-ring worker, other than just being like an on-screen character. I don't understand why she gets to get 40 minutes, but somebody like you said, Action Smash, who gave their bodies to this business, like we losing time for people like that, or like you mentioned, Bad News Brown, and even what we're gonna do for Sid in a second. Like again, it's very very unfortunate that most of the time we spent listening to someone who again was just you know we talked about it with Michelle McCool. They've done this, and at least again, even with Michelle McCool, at least she was on the road and putting her body on the line, you know, consistently. So I whatever. She went long. At least I can understand that. She wrestled and she earned that time. But Stephanie, you can make the argument, it's like she's the one that should be getting the 10, 15-minute speech while these wrestlers are telling more of their story. When I was growing up, I didn't know a lot. For example, I remember vividly the year Hulk Hogan went in. I could have swore the same year I think Iron Sheik went in, and he wasn't the headliner, but Sheik talked forever. And I remember listening to the Sheik, but as a kid, not knowing a bunch about their era, I learned a lot, and you also figured out how entertaining the Iron Sheik is. Like it made you want to look into these people. So it really sucks that people like Action Smash, you know, not only do kids may just okay, well, yeah, they old guys got in the Hall of Fame, but they didn't get enough time to even really give you a lot to sink into, so you can learn more about said, you know, historic talent because we spent so much time on somebody that everybody knows. So
Yeah.
yeah, again, we can move on, but I thought again it was a great moment because at least they looked like they were happy to finally get in. So that was really cool too.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been waiting. I say we. Shit, some people have been waiting 25 years for Demolition. You know what I mean? To
Right.
go in, it's crazy that it's taken this long. But like I said, at least there are in there. Miz and Cole talked about the history of celebrities in wrestling. Oh, read the room, guys. And then we had Dennis Rodman's induction. Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman came out to induct Rodman, but Nash has apparently lost his voice. So small mercies, you know. Waltman was similar brief before bringing out the worm to accept his induction. He called pro wrestling his second home and got a little emotional. He had to stop himself from crying, and he talked about how WCW and how much he misses Hulk Hogan. He asked why it took so long to make the statue of Hogan and thanked the crowd for the Hall of Fame. This was short of expected, but not a bad thing. At least he remembered Bischoff and kids. This is what drugs will do to you. But again, people might be like, well, Dennis Rodman's saying about Hulk Hogan. I'm sure Hulk Hogan treated the biggest fucking star, you know, in basketball at that time and a huge part of the show on Nitro with a little bit of a fucking respect. Don't you think?
Right.
Like, come
Right.
on, guys. Like,
Come on,
I don't
man.
know.
People lose their mind. Like they don't understand that at the end of the day, when you achieve something, like like you said, that what is that for? And what we know Hogan was about business. So at the end of the day, he's not going to do something stupid to jeopardize business. One and two, again, being like that and being having the ideology that Hogan literally himself expressed on camera. So it's not nobody putting words or anything in his mouth. Being like that and having those emotions is not about spitting on every black person you see. You know what I'm saying? It is literally like how he was moving through life, how he looked at people. So although he was smiling in Rodman's face and being the sweetest he could have been, he still would have looked at Rodman that way if Rodman's son wanted something to do with Brooke. You know what I'm saying? Like he pretty much explained it. So I don't understand that argument. But either way it goes, again, this was fine. This was what it was. It was cool to see him emotional. That this meant something for him. And I think for something like Rodman, who really only had like that run in WCW, for him to have that little small period of time, those few matches, I think it was like two matches, or at least I know the Karl Malone, but I think he did at least one more thing, right? For him to remember that time being in the NWO that vividly, you could tell it left an impact on his life. So it really is cool as a wrestling fan to know that, when you have a guy like Rodman, that who didn't do a lot, but that stuck out and was very memorable, and it really made him emotional. It was really really cool as a wrestling fan to see the impact wrestling can leave on people who are outsiders, and but at the same time, as I was watching this, I couldn't help but be like, God damn it, Rodman, people like you is why we got our show speed at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's just true, and no one. I don't think we saw highlights from his match against Macho Man at like Bash for the Beach '99 or Road Wild or whenever it was. So
Right.
like they took somehow. Cole and Midge introduced a video to induct Hogan versus Andre match from WrestleMania 3 as the immortal moment. Nick Hogan, Jimmy Hart, and Andre's daughter Robin came out to talk about the importance of Hogan versus Andre.
Yeah.
They admired a special sculptor made to represent the match. And then the second legacy inductee of the night was Sid Vicious. We've got a highlight package. Talking about his larger than life personality, impressive physique. His family was shown sitting in the crowd, and his son did some of his signature poses. And what this, and again, makes me fucking sick is, I mean, Sid, even with this legacy, shouldn't have been. He's bigger. When you think about what he did as WWE
Yeah.
champion, as WWF champion, and this is before, when you jumped from side to side, so to speak. And the other thing that really got me as well was Sid was very vocal about wanting to be inducted whilst he was alive, much like Vader, who said,
Mhm.
"I haven't got long left. Let me in," and he didn't listen, or even worse, they just didn't want to.
Yeah, I think again, that's what I'm saying. Not only that we couldn't even get, like, again, because I remember back in the day, sometimes I know they don't do that all the time. Now they've been kind of cut that out, but sometimes the family would be allowed to speak for their, the deceased wrestler. In some cases, we've had deceased wrestlers get speeches, even if it wasn't that long. We've had them get that highlight at times, and it's kind of, but so it's not only did the legacy thing kind of suck, that's how they decided to pay respects, so to speak, for him. But at the same time, like you said, to have that in the back of your mind while they're showcasing him, and just, in my opinion, I really love to see it. Like, I love to see his power bomb, like the big man wrestling style he had, whether he was Sid Vicious, whether he was Psycho Sid, no matter what side of the banner, whether it was WCW or WWE, he was, Sid left a mark, and he's one of those guys, one of those wrestlers like that, those '80s wrestlers back in the day that always left a mark on pro wrestling. They're in his era, so I do think it's very unfortunate, especially when you can think back that he had. It was plenty. It wasn't. I don't want to get the years wrong, but like, Sid, like about a decade ago, was still like active and still doing things. And so for them to kind of like bide their time and just wait so long, and especially when, and I hate, and I'm not trying to do this to put down anybody who got in there before him, but like when you think about how many years that they could have just added his name to the ballot over some other people if you needed a number limit. It comes off as really cruel, and I don't want to believe that anybody's doing that on purpose. But like you said, when they come out and they let you know they're not in the best health, and they know they're going to get in, and then now they got to turn into a legacy entry. It really like brings the entire mood around the induction down to where it's just like it don't even mean shit because they literally asked to be brought in before they, so they can give a speech, and it turned out this way. It really sucks, man.
Yeah. I can't remember a wrestler who's main evented two WrestleManias who wouldn't have a proper
Right.
induction into the Hall of Fame. I don't know if there'll
Like
be
sin was a
anybody.
big deal. Like I don't
Yeah,
like I don't people should not that shouldn't be understated. Like I know some people may not remember, like some kids may not know about it or whatever, and I'm not gonna act like he was like the greatest worker of all time. But as far as big men go, of the '80s and '90s, like Sid was that guy. So
yeah.
it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, he looked like a wrestler, you know. And the final inductee of
Yes.
the evening was none other than AJ Styles. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were brought out to induct a long-time friend. He had so many legendary opponents he could pick, but he chose those two men, and they welcomed the phenomenal one to the stage. He said he might get a little emotional night since he retired recently, and he had been asked many times if he misses wrestling, with the crowd chanting "one more match." He said he misses parts of the business but doesn't miss wrestling, but he's lucky enough to go home to his family every night now. He says he had a lot of people to thank, so he just said thanked them all at once. He thanked every promoter who booked him, every talent he ever wrestled. He also said he meant it every time he ever said he loved someone. He said he was in the right place at the right time, and feels blessed to have the career he's had. And AJ Styles, this is why AJ Styles was one of the good ones. You know, it's not just the stories you hear and not a bad word about him either, but he knew that they'd been there for so fucking long with Stephanie and everything like that, that he didn't overstay his welcome. He thanked everyone, music hit, and then he left, you know? And the one thing that did get me, which I didn't realize, is when he had finished, I realized AJ had really gone. Do you know what I mean? Like he's been a
Right.
part of my wrestling life for like 23, 24 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking hell.
Yeah,
He's
he has a
gone.
real case too. He's finally gone, but like when he took his body at work, he's definitely got a case. Like we wanted to do a definitive list of just greatest wrestlers of all time. It's hard to say how do you not put AJ in the top 10 or around the top 10, man. He's one of the greatest, man, easily. And like you said, great person. I love that too because it went viral the year before with the Triple H mess and just all the wrestlers who just sleep in the crowd,
Mm.
having mania to do with all of that. So yeah, man, AJ did everybody adjusted. You can tell AJ is not far removed from the locker room. He probably understands that the wrestlers do not want to be sitting there listening to those people talk when they have to get ready to work, literally the next day and all of that. So yeah, man, it's tough, but I think AJ did not only did the right thing for the speech and all that, but I just think what AJ means to wrestling couldn't even really be put into words either. So I do think at the end of the day, it's just cool. It was a great moment, and I'm just happy that AJ was able to get it, even if you think they fast tracked it. I know some people were trying to make the argument WWE only did this to keep him away from whatever, but AJ seemed to be very resolute that he ain't wrestling no more anyway. So I don't really think that matters. So whatever, even if they fast tracked it because of the fear that he might do something else, it don't really matter to me because like I talk about it all the time. We just talked about it with Sid. Look how many people who had great runs who we're still waiting to figure out why they're not in, or we look at, or like then you worry about you mess around and you wait too late. It's just like you know what I mean. So like it's like the people that come to my mind right now, people like Christian and the Hardys. We all know they're gonna get in.
That's
What
exactly
the
who
hell are
I
we?
thought of as well, to be fair.
Yeah, what the hell are we waiting on? like we know they're gonna get in. They obviously deserve it. So what are we doing? So anyway, but yeah, so it's great that AJ's in and like think about that. Like you said, somebody who's been a part of wrestling and part of just of our wrestling fandom for the last two decades. Isn't it crazy to think that when I was watching that man be number one in Impact, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I saw by 2026 he already be WWE Hall of Fame. He's WWE Hall of Fame before Cena, right? Already. So it's like,
Yeah.
isn't that something? So that's very
But
very cool when you think
and I
about it.
think that's that's the thing about AJ as well. It's slightly different to a Cena because, like I said, if you're watching WWE, then Cena comes along and you're like, okay, we haven't really got a choice. But AJ was one of those that I went out. Do you know what I mean? Like even with
Oh
TNA,
yeah,
you went out your way to
100%.
watch like the triple threat match against Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe.
And
I went
Joe,
out my
yeah,
way to watch his match against Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom. Do you know what I mean? So it was always
right,
one that it wasn't like, oh, here you are, you're gonna like it. It was no, AJ's. Yeah, again, like you said, I think you said it best. You can't put into words the impact he's had, and maybe looking back in 10, 20 years time, we can. But right now,
right.
it's like I said, it's too fresh. But yeah, the Hall of Fame was, apart from a couple of bits, were fucking hell waste of time. I'm glad we talked about it though. There's also had matches live at WWE World throughout the weekend of WrestleMania with Robert Stone and Jeremy Borash on commentary for some of them. I mean, it's like, what the fucking hell am I watching? The matches were NXT North American Championship, Tatum Paxley with a big Tatum puppet, which freaked me out. But I did see people operating it, so it was real. She beat Alba Fire. Motor City Machine Guns beat Fraxium. And I don't know if you saw how pissed off Alex Shelley was at that weekend as well. But TNA wins again. And maybe a match we will see on there sooner rather than later as well. WWE Sunday, and apparently didn't stream Fridays, but I miss the network because this was fucking all over the place. Borash with the AAA commentary team with the Creeds losing to LWO, which is Phoenix and Wild. Ivor lost to Psycho Clown. Jada Parker beat Fallon Henley. Miles Bourne and Charlotte Hill lost to Bait and Dunn. And then we switched to AAA YouTube with Otis and Cesaro versus Mr. Iguana and La Parca. Lola, Mr. Iguana versus Thea Hale and Charlotte Hill. Adrian Butler hit a suicide dive in this. That's the referee. Vinkingo versus Psycho Clown. And then back to NXT YouTube. Tony D beat Bait. Bait did spin the referee. Thea Hale lost to JC Jane, but Thea did pin the referee. Sol Ruka beat Izzy Dame. Axiom lost to Grayson Waller. Kendall Gray beat Ivy Nile. Lola Vice beat Jada Parker with apparently the NXT title on the line. And Blake Howard and Robert Stone redubbed some of the commentary. I just miss the network, man. Do you know what I mean? It is so
Yeah,
fucking difficult to find shit sometimes on YouTube. And that's on YouTube where it's usually in my face. It's
right.
like, oh, I don't know.
Right, because I like I
Um,
said, I got lucky and discovered certain things. Like you just pop up, and next thing you know, WWE's live, and you're like, oh, okay, this show, this is on. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what's going on. So yeah, I definitely agree. The network, man, it used to streamline all of these.
Oh, it did. And I just want to mention Kill Tony because I'd never heard of Tony Hinchcliffe. All right. So I'm going to sit down and let's see if he makes me laugh. All right. So
Oh
Jeff
no,
Ross was there. So this was a roast. All right. Undertaker was a guest. It kind of reminds me when I went to pay and see Undertaker's live show. It wasn't great, but expensive. A bit like WWE now, I suppose. This being Netflix, they advertised another show before starting this one, and this is everything wrong with WWE right now. They plugged Taker's pods, and the comedians got 60 seconds. And I'm glad the crowd had heard of these guys because I fucking didn't. This was a mix between taking the piss out of wrestling for being fake and stupid shit by shit comedians. I would rather
ugh,
watch 100 kickoffs than lists. The host had no knowledge or care for wrestling. Kane showed up right after an old woman was talking about her pussy, and Kane talks about dogs being put to death, to pick the crowd up a little
ugh.
bit, and the government giving money to immigrants. And Kane says he's a Trump fan. Well, Kane, you're playing to the right audience here.
Yeah,
Some bloke had a go at Jews in New York. They didn't like the fact he didn't tip his taxi driver. Nia Jax was laughing at herself rather than telling jokes, but she did shout at her mum and her pussy. We got some cunt with a guitar. We got an autistic guy. We got Jay Uso who yeeted. We got a Danhausen video. We got some guy dressed like Jeff Hardy's. We got comedians who laugh at themselves and are not funny. They got Stephanie McMahon showing up. No, I am not making this up. She inducted the Hardy Boy into the
ugh.
Kill Tony Hall of Fame. And then we ended with Carrot Top, the Triple H spitting water, and then Taker chokeslamming Tony through a table. I just, I just didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, who? This is not made for me.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And if it's not made for you, then who is this made for? Like, is it?
That is my
I
takeaway.
I
Just like
don't
who is
know.
this made for? The unfortunate thing is that it scarily has to be people who consume this and don't and think any of that is funny or cool.
I just
Like that's the
yeah.
scariest part. That's the scariest part about it.
It,
That unfortunately I believe it is a base for that because WWE don't do anything without financial gain being involved. So like somebody's putting money into this. I don't think you just it again. Like you said, even things I don't personally agree with, like whether you want to go political or whatever you want to talk about, I can sometimes suspend myself and understand, okay, I get what this is for. Everything you just talked about right there, just I don't understand. I don't know who that's for or what subhuman is consuming that, but it gotta be somebody, right?
It's
Right?
awful. It's like if they'd have come out waving a like swash sticker at the end of it, I would have been like, oh, all right, I get you. Like this is what I
Right.
like. It was just, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. I had to mention it because I fucking wasted 90 minutes of my life. I'm never getting back, and I had to watch it over two. That's how bad I turned it off, and I was like, no, I have to
Couldn't make
finish
it through the
it.
first.
I couldn't. I couldn't make it through. I was like, I have to do it just to see. It was awful. And then we had also as well John Cena on the Undertaker's podcast, and that was in the same ring as the world matches. But Michelle McCall was there, and I was just like, "Do you know what? I'll leave it." Back to NXT then. So two episodes left. April 21st, and we start with the North American champion Miles Bourne defending against Dark State's Dion Lennox. The rest of Dark State bat Lennox on his way to the ring. They distracted Bourne on the outside, allowing Lennox to turn the tide. Sugar's trying to get involved again, but bump heads with Lennox, followed by a Bourne again for the champion to retain. Backstage, Sugars asked Robert Stone for another Dark State top opportunity, and Sugars told Lennox that he had the next shot at Miles Bourne next week. Lennox wasn't happy. Um, what the fuck? It wasn't a bad match, but again, the group is just already hasn't got long left. I don't know.
And they haven't done anything. Like literally, like at least the Diet had, at least they had did something. Like yeah, they've been together, pretty much done nothing, and now it seems like it's already time to get rid of them. I ain't mad at it though.
Crazy. Joe Hendry versus Kiana Carver. Hendry built momentum until he called for the standing ovation. Carver blocked it and landed a spine buster. He followed up with a series of elbow smashes on Hendry until the referee called for the bell because Hendry could not defend himself. Joe's run wasn't long in NXT, but then again, when you factor in being a TNA roster member and losing on NXT for like a year, he's not. He did have maybe like a year and a half run, and also he did become NXT champion, which Gunter can't say. So at least he's got
Wow.
that. And also, Joe had a concert on Raw next week scheduled, so he'll be fine. We found that out before, so we were like, "Oh, he's all right then."
He's already booked and busy, so I don't know how much losing to Keanu Carver is gonna affect anything. But hey,
Yeah, well, Carver got the win. We'll see what happens. Lizzie Rain will debut next week. Rain wrestled under the Independence, the moniker "the Maiden of Metal," in reference to her uncle's former band, Iron Fucking Maiden. She spent time in British promotion
insane.
Progress, where she won the Progress Women's Championship. She attended a tryout in August 2025 and was named the MVP of all the potential signees. And she sounds like a cockney. So I love her already, Monty. I went a bit more cockney in that.
Yeah, spot on, actually.
Cool, blimey, governor. We'll see how she does next week. Men's speed championship tournament final. Lexus King versus EK Prosper. If EK doesn't use cheaters, never prosper. He is missing a fucking trick. All right, come on,
Hmm.
it is right there. But cheaters did prosper here as Lexus King got the win. Again, I suppose we should be happy that Lexus King is a champion. I want to say champion, but yeah, I mean, Heritage Cup and Speed Champion. It was not to love. That move was worthwhile.
I told you, I mean, I haven't told you this, but in my opinion, when I watch these speed matches, not saying that these everybody who's in the speed division is just ass. I'm just saying that I really believe now that the use for this division is everybody we're not necessarily confident in wrestling over 5 minutes. We just put you in the speed match. So what the hell does that tell you about Alexis King, who's been in NXT this long? All right.
Yeah. Yeah. The Levante project went across the street as Drake had a date. He was stood up on the date, but didn't run into Micah Lockwood. Charlotte Hill told Tatum
Mhm.
that he distracted Vanity Project with a fake date to make sure she had a fair match, which led to the Women's North American Championship, Tatum Paxley versus Blake Monroe in a casket match. Monroe and Tatum both arrived in funeral attire, and Monroe brought flowers. The champion brought out a dollhouse as a weapon, but Monroe, that drop kicked her in it. The two battled in and out of the casket until they fought out on top. Monroe went for a glamour shot, but Tatum countered into a Spanish fly. Monroe fired back with a fire extinguisher. Tatum used Monroe's fake title to block the casket door closing in a cool moment. We then saw the glamour drag Tatum out the casket and revealed a bag full of diamonds. Tatum countered the glamour shot into the cemetery drive on the diamonds, closed the lid on Monroe to successfully defend her gold. Um, do you know what's weird, right? And they did say this. This was the first title match in a casket since the Royal Rumble 1998. And I was just like, fucking hell. But Tatum has made this his own, and I really like this match.
Yeah, I was mid workout. I was on the treadmill watching this, man, and it was some really good entertainment while I was getting my cardio in, and uh, I was really just sitting back, and I remember as the match finished, I just immediately just typed out like, "Oh my goodness, Tatum Paxley is a hooper!" Like I tweeted that out, like she really can go, and like I think this match was like a up. They went up, they upped the ante of like what they did in in Stand and Deliver, which again kind of goes back to our overall point about that show, but. This was just great. This was really, really good, really, really fun. A lot of reversals. A lot of time. As a matter of fact, I thought the belt spot where the casket was closed, I actually for a second entertained that Blake won it because it really. I thought that was a really well executed spot. I did think that Blake should have immediately tried instead of throwing a feet, should have immediately tried to snatch the belt so the casket could close while she was in it, and maybe you could have won it that way on a slick, kind of slick way. But either way it go, it was really, really cool. And I came away from it just overwhelmed. I think that's how I know, like, if this is the last thing Blake does or whatever, if allegedly it might be, if this is the last thing she does in NXT, salute. I thought she really elevated Tatum Paxton on her way out. And maybe she was meant to accomplish more on her run, but Triple H is basically calling them anything they can. But either way it goes, I thought this was a really, really good feud and like a great way to close it out. And here we go again, man. Another promotion where Mariah May has died, and now technically, because she's in a casket, that's the death of Blake Monroe. I mean, like, I don't know
Yeah.
what is what I don't know what her deal is, but she's out of there now. But this is really, really good, man. A great conclusion, and Tatum Paxton seems to be the better from it all in the end, and that's the best. That's a sign of a good feud too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah, Tatum has been great. And Blake, yeah, I think we'll look back and think, oh, at least Blake had her time in NXT. Quick question though. Are they using the same introduction on SmackDown as he did on NXT, or is it just very, very similar? I just like, I'm sure I've seen these introduction videos before of Blake.
I 100% agree with you. I don't want to believe that they're lazy enough to just be reusing it, but they definitely didn't change a damn thing so far. To me, nothing unique about him at all to me. So yeah, I would have to go all the way back to the debut vignettes to see if these are exactly the same. I think they'll be getting called out for it if it was that lazy. But yeah, they're pretty much reshoots.
Yeah, well, no, like I said, we wish Blake the best. We are losing soldier after soldier now on this update. I'm
Yes.
not gonna lie. Load Vice talked about find out what it means to be NXT Women's Champion. She was ready to step up, but promised them a serious fight. Izzy Dame arrived to make clear she wants next. Before Sean Spears and Nico Vance surrounded Vice, allowing Izzy to take Vice out with a boot. Oh, I can't wait. Ricky Saints attacked Charlotte Hill in Robert Stone's office while he checked on Vice backstage. Tony D'Angelo received a box with Kanji for War, while Kiana Carver also told him and Stone that he wanted a shot at the champion. So apparently Evil is coming. And he also made a big Tony puppet as well as the Tatum puppet, which again is I think is even freakier. But then again, I quite like puppets. Last women standing: Sol Ruka versus Zarya. Zarya tried to sneak attack Ruka for the bell, but Ruka expected it, starting to brawl fast. The two quickly leaned on weapons, with Zarya choking out Ruka with cables, while Ruka used a kendo stick for a crossface. Ruka spears Zarya through the stage. Both stumbled out, only to collapse. Zarya sent Ruka through the announce table with an F5, but Ruka found a footing to stay in the fight. Then two tables were set up underneath the stage. Ruka blasted Zarya with a piece of the announce table and went to the top. They met on there, and it looked like Sol was getting upset, and so was Zarya, and they hugged, and it was really nice until Zarya knocked Sol backwards, and one of the sickest fucking bumps that I have seen
Yeah.
with the back of her head clipping that tape. That is something you just never ever want to see. Zarya got the win. This match again was really, really good, but the ending, man, fucking hell, that was panic stations.
Yeah, I bet they kept. I think they kept that camera shot wide because I know Zara is losing her shit. like, like I know she's trying to hold it together and Def staring like, yeah, stupid baby face. Which, by the way, Zack Sabre Jr. always right. Baby faces, wrestlers, pretty damn stupid. But to be fair, I do think for all the people who have a parasocial relationship with the relationship of this, of this feud. I saw a lot of people really emotional about that little hug moment. So it got the people it was meant to get, James. Even though I was all the way, I'm all the way out on all of that. I do think it would have been even more powerful if this was paced better and you did a moment like that. And then also if WWE had the balls to just go ahead and book them as like if you wanted to just straight up book them as a couple instead of a like presumed let them wear gear that let you that say stuff like you my ex. Like if they would have went all the way with that angle of it, maybe that hug and all of that could have been more effective. But I already kind of knew what was going on. I was like, yeah, no, we're not switching up right now. You push her off, but it's just unfortunate that the landing of said push ended up to be just insane. I've never seen really anything like that. I'm so glad she seemed to be okay, and it isn't. I haven't heard any fallout from it. Hopefully, she went into protocol and they checked and make sure everything was cool. But yeah, man, one of the damnedest endings you can say. But I do think, you know, at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy that now it's time for Zarya. If you with a moment like that, and you kind of basically halfway killing somebody that kayfabe wise you're supposed to love. What excuse does she not? What excuse does she have to not be a monster? Like, hopefully, this is the launching pad to have Zarya dominate going forward in NXT.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, I really liked the two women's matches. I thought they were great, and I was really high on NXT coming out of there, especially after we'd kind of stand and deliver and everything like this. But we got the last episode of NXT. I should mention as well because I haven't got any TNA notes written down for the next couple of episodes. I don't think. Rich Swann versus Mike Santana was a fucking banger as well. I don't know if that. I think that was before April 28th because I think it was Elijah and Kazarian in like a guitar strap match. This is Impact. We get we get good and we get we get the bad. But yeah, Rich Swann back to his fucking best at that point it seemed versus Mike Santana. Anyway, last episode of NXT, we're finally there. April 28th. A video from early in the day saw Robert Stone talking to Shawn Michaels and Matt Bloom about losing everybody. It seemed. We know Ricky Saints, Joe Hendry, Sol Ruka, Ethan Page, just everybody we've liked. Do you know what I mean? Throughout the whole time has now seemingly gone. We started with the North American Championship match, Miles Bourne versus Saquon Sugars. Darkseid tried to interfere early to take down Bourne, but the champion fought hard to avoid any distractions. Lennox threatened to attack Bourne with a steel chair, but Sugars stopped him. Bourne sent Sugars into Lennox, followed by Bourne again for the victory. And afterwards, a newcomer to NXT, Mr. England, Tristan Angel, warned Bourne that he was here to make a statement, followed by a sneak attack on the champion by LFG's Cam Hendricks. I mean, the match was a bit rough, man, and it's going to take time for the new talent coming through. But I got to say, nice hair, Tristan. Yeah, are you the third member of Pretty Deadly? Like, where have you been? Like,
He's so pretty that he had to include in his promo. Don't let my looks fool you. He walked out of there looking like a model. I was like, bro, you in the right spot. But hey, you know what? He is Mr. England, so I thought maybe you already know of him because Mr. England. That seems like a very big name to give somebody that's unknown in
yeah,
England.
man, no, I
So,
know. He's on TV every day, mate. Like, yeah, fucking hell. Like,
oh yeah, he
yeah.
need to be. Look at that representation. Come on, man. But yeah, no, I agree. I also think here we go again. We'll talk about it as we go. But kind of like you mentioned when they were just kind of throwing every woman that Lola Vice at one segment. Two people. I will say this. At least, like you said, at least Tristan got a chance to get on the mic. The other guy just, I guess we just supposed to know him because they think we watch LFG. How much time you think I fucking got?
Tony D'Angelo, I'm sure it'll get better. Tony D'Angelo
I'm
asked
sure.
whoever called him out with a box last week to come out and face him. The lights went out, and a new NXT threat arrived in the form
Whoever.
of Evil. The former IWGP Heavyweight Champion handed Tony D a scroll indicating war was coming for him. As Evil walked away, Tavian Heights laid out the NXT champion with a belly to belly for a mystery man or a fan, some people thought, which was English pro wrestler Will Cruz, hit the champ with a moonsault. Didn't we just see this segment on the for the North American Championship? But we're seeing it again now. But again, Evil or whatever he's called is here, and Will Cruz has Keith Lee vibes, but we shall see because a lot of people. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. Right, first off, with Evil, I think it's hilarious. The person I hated most in New Japan is now on NXT, and I'm probably going to fall in
Yep.
love with him. You know, what are your thoughts on Evil showing up here for Tony
Gonna be
D?
your savior. My thoughts is always my thoughts when my guy from Japan comes to WWE. It's like, damn, Evil looks short. But but I'm kind of used to that at this point because imagine Ishii when he showed up. If he would have showed up in places like WWE.
Fucking hell.
But anyway, but anyway, again, I'm happy to see Evil because again, it's been a while. You know how I feel about Evil. He's one of my favorites, always have been. Hopefully, he's allowed to kind of showcase, even with New Japan towards the end, haven't really allowed to let him showcase. I don't really know what his role and what he's gonna be allowed to accomplish in this new era of NXT. But I am happy to see him. It's good to get not only a familiar face, but it's good to get somebody I know that's also a veteran, somebody I know that who knows what he's doing in the ring. He's probably gonna have to dump himself down for some of these younger kid guys. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But I just again, we'll just have to see him. I'm excited, and they at least seem to initially treat him like a big deal. And hopefully, I don't know. He don't seem like he's changed too much aesthetic wise either. So it'll be cool to see. But I want to see what changes, what WWEifies Evil. What is going to actually happen to him? Outside of obviously the name change that we know is coming. And but yeah, as far as Cruz go, I don't know if it's true, but they said is he really the brother of Rain, Lizzie Rain? I don't know. That's the claim on the internet that they're related.
I have
I have no
not
clue.
heard that, but
But yeah, so that's what they claim online. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that have anything to do with him getting signed. But either way it go, big guy do flips. I like that.
you're blowing. I should know more about English wrestlers. Really, you're blowing my mind when it comes to certain stuff. I'll have a look at that. I have no idea. But what I found funny, because again, like I said, I maybe should be on point with more English wrestling, but I think it's a double standard of a wrestling fan, right? And I think it's more than maybe WWE this way. And again, how they've proved they've been brought up in a WWE society when a guy who is not who do you know what I mean? Like any little bit of extra weight or anything like that, and
Oh
all of a
yeah.
sudden they
Oh,
go, "Who the
100%.
fuck is this guy?" They did it with Keith Lee,
100%.
someone like Kevin Owens. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Even like people like Mankind, Mick Foley back in the day. You're not looking like a
Yep.
pro wrestler, and look how great those guys turned out to be. You know,
You can thank Vince.
so
Thanks a
yes,
lot. Vince obsession with everybody looking like bikini male models. That obsession just conditioned everybody. And I do kind of understand. I do think it kind of comes from because we were just talking about a guy like Sid and like how he looked like a wrestler. Like I get that, but like just because someone doesn't look can't it doesn't physically look like Sid doesn't mean they don't bring something unique to the table. It's not that many people in the world who look like Cruz and can do a moonsault. It's not too many people who in the world who look like Otis. You know what I mean? It's not too many people who look like that.
Yeah.
Like that stuff still applies to those people.
Yeah, and then it's hilarious. Anybody actually says that on NXT when someone like I said Samoa Joe is probably the perfect example of that as well. So people just need to fucking get over themselves. Tatum Paxton, Charlotte Hill laid Blake Monroe to rest in a graveyard, like you said. Blake has died in yet another promotion. Birthright versus EK Prosper and Sean Legacy. Birthright arrived with a smile, mocking their opponents, revealing they've laid out DVD backstage. Prosper Legacy show chemistry that outshined Birthright, winning with Legacy's shambles on stacks. You're right about that. Birthright attacked both men afterwards and involves Tate Wilder came in to make the save. I don't know. Stables in NXT are useless. This was the equivalent of watching people throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. This this NXT was just like,
Yes.
how much shit can we throw?
Hey,
That was
just
the
run out
question.
there, guy. Who cares if anybody know who the hell you are? Just go out there. It's gonna mean something at some point.
I
Yeah,
just
that's
don't
what this
know.
felt like. At least I knew Sean Legacy. I
Yeah,
thought he
yeah,
would be like,
yeah,
I know he was hurt, but I thought he'd be big, big this year. So hopefully this means he'll do something. But yeah,
yeah.
at least I knew him. But yeah, they just, hey, go ahead, hey, guy. I don't know if you're that ready, but we need men. Go.
Callie Armstrong got in Jada Parker's face in the locker room until the other woman had to break it up. NXT had a quick video announcement. Shawn Michaels that NXT Premium Live events would be airing on the CW going forward. Monty, I say your Premium Live events will be on the CW app now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you. Give me something else. Is it going to be free? No, probably
I
not.
don't. I don't. It'd probably be
Jesus.
CW Premium Plus app, wouldn't it? With the I don't fucking honestly.
Oh
Lola,
gosh.
Lola Vice charged to the ring to call out Izzy Dame. Sean Spears appeared on the title trying to strap Vice for the arrival of Dame and Vance. Vice countered with the arrival of Mr. Iguana, and the champions cleared the ring together. There we go. Just push Mr. Iguana into the main event scene. In the locker room, Kendall Graham and Sinclair talked about next steps. Jordan interrupted and challenged Sinclair to a non-title match. Cutler James and Griffin shut down the argument of Lennox and Sugars backstage and advised they were going after NXT Tag Gold. Come on, guys. Jackson Drake was riding high after his date last week, but Jasper Troy interrupted to challenge him. What are they doing with Jackson Drake? I don't like him, but the whole on a date thing and that, what? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Um, Lizzie Rain made her NXT debut versus Nikita Lyons. Lyons quickly knocked down Rain with a roundhouse and split leg, but Rain refused to stay down. She came back with a flurry of machine gun chops, and after an uppercut in the corner, she hit the thunderstruck knee for the victory. I was very, very impressed with Lizzie Rain. I think she's got the look. And again, I know a lot of people complain about the finisher, but the fucking soul snatcher. Do you know what I mean? Deal with it, guys. Fuck's sake.
People were complaining about it, and again,
Because
is it a
apparently they had to hold
practicality
the
thing?
leg. Yeah, they had to
Yeah, it's
hold
a
the leg.
practicality thing.
Like a fucking insecurity. Like,
Come
do you know
on,
what
exactly.
I
Come on,
mean?
come on, bro. She literally jumped up and kicked somebody in the head. Like, whatever. It needs cooperation. A suplex need cooperation. I mean, so like whatever. Like it happens. Like, and it's like you said, when it comes to like you said, you guys, if you love the Soul Snatcher, you cannot hate this move because not only is this move more brutal to me, you need a lot of things to go right for the Soul Snatcher to work. That's why it hasn't always been the prettiest finishers. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's not practical itself. So at the end of the day, if it looks good, I don't really care about practicality, and I think it definitely works as a finisher. I'm also a little bit. I'm also impressed. I have to see more of her, of course, but I like the look because it's unique. And we'll see. She seemed to have like a crazy streak in her too. So it'll be interesting to see, exactly what her ceiling is. She does look ready. As far as Nikita Lyons go, she's basically enhancement talent. So I don't, yeah,
She's still there. Fair, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. She's still
We weren't
employed
sure.
though.
So again,
Still
yeah.
employed. There you go. Get that money.
Kalani Jordan versus Ren Sinclair was next. Jordan hit a springboard cutter and went for the frog splash. Sinclair got the knees up to protect herself but could not capitalize. In response, Jordan attacked the knee and hit the one of a kind moonsault to win. Miles Bourne questioned Tavian Height's actions earlier in the night, who brushed him off. Kiana Carver warned Bourne that he was going after all the gold, and Zarya said goodbye to Sol Ruka in an ugly AI generated video. Oh, I hated that. And then Ricky Saints versus Shiloh Hill. Well, the Revolution knocked Hill's tooth out, and while this seemed to awaken something in Hill, he still managed to hit the Rochambeau on the floor. Saints was still chair in the ring. Hill tripped tripped him into it, followed by the whisper to the Beast for the victory. After the main event, Tony D told Shawn Michaels he was ready for the chaos and would fight everyone and anyone. So Ricky Saints is done, as we know. Maybe not a stronger main event to leave it here, but I mean,
You
again,
had to put over Shiloh here. Give him a break.
yeah, I know. So it seems we kind of know who the next kind of guys are. I'll get your thoughts on NXT as a whole, because again, like I said, Miles Bourne, Lola Vice, obviously Shiloh Hill is going to be one to look at, and then Tony D, and then whoever else will join that group, I guess.
Yeah, they're a tier above everybody. We in a new transition up here, man. So uh it feels like every few months we are, but now it feels like now if you look at everybody debut, we got one debut for women, but for the most part, everybody that debuted, I think they've realized it. To me, some of this is a little too late. You could have spread this out a couple weeks back and brought some of these faces. Some of these new male faces, in my opinion, when you think about how undeep the male division has been for a while. You could have spread this out a little bit, before we lost that bulk of male talent that we're already losing. But again, it's gonna be really interesting to see where we are and who, like you said, who steps up to kind of join the established people that we have and the champions that we already have. And who knows, man? Like I'm always up and down. Like, we could be in a new era where we're looking at these what they call those, the athletes, the whatever,
Crossover.
this crossover. Yeah, we could be looking at this crossover athlete era, and we could be really in a great era of wrestling, or that can be a 2.0 to where we have to give those crossover athletes time to cross over, and so it'd be interesting to see. But it's always tough when you're losing the star power that we are losing to the main roster, especially when you don't know if the main roster is even ready for that talent. And that kind of leads me to my point about Ricky that I kind of left off earlier about just kind of feeling like his run in NXT does not leave me optimistic. Like when he signed, I thought Ricky could have a very prominent mid card, upper mid card run in WWE, but now it's just like because even in NXT that he kind of ended up kind of becoming jokey to me. I don't know if he felt like a joke to you at times, but like we talked about it, as a babyface, it didn't really work out, and as a heel, he kind of plays second fiddle to Ethan Page. So it's tough to me. It's tough. It's really really tough right now. At least from what I see, I'm happy that we had Ricky in NXT, and I hope everything works out and he does big things on the main roster. Don't get me wrong. I think he has the talent to do big things on the main roster. But yeah, man, I'm really uncertain, and that's kind of like where I leave it. I'll say I'm uncertain about the future of where we're heading in NXT because we got a lot of things that we don't know. And other than the women's division, I'm certain the women's division will still be solid because I think we still have enough talent there that can hold us over. But as far as like where we're going overall and in the men's divisions, I'm very, very, very unsure. And then when it comes to the talent that we lost. Where's a Joe Hendry going to be in 6 months? Where's how far can Ethan Page go? I'm a little more confident in him, but how far can he go? The Ricky Saints that we just lost. Where does Blake Monroe chime in? We lost a whole toxic faction. That we didn't. They didn't really get a goodbye, but we
Oh
know
yeah,
that
we didn't
they're
say
on the
goodbye to
main
them, did
roster.
we?
Right, but they didn't even get one on TV like JC
Yeah, no,
lost
yeah.
and they just disappeared. But so like yeah, so like they popped up on SmackDown. So we lost basically three ladies in that whole exchange. So like what is what how does that look? What is that, what is gonna happen and where some of those talent and what do they look like? Is the main roster even big enough or ready to actually portray? We know, hey, how many people that we've seen come up in NXT that we probably had to watch say goodbye because they go up to the main roster and there's nothing for them. So I don't know about that, but like when it comes to NXT itself, we are in that period again where it's time to finally build some more male stars, and hopefully the women can continue to stay solid. Even though I do expect, they're gonna lose some. Hopefully, no, not more this year. Hopefully the women can stay solid, and we can use them to build, have a strong division going forward. But yeah, man, that we're kind of in a limbo period now.
Yeah, and I think this is a thing, and hopefully for the next 6 months or so, there's stability in NXT to be able to build. They'll talk about the men's division as well because if we're being realistic now, apart from maybe Tony D, you could argue Miles Bourne, who are you going to take for the main roster at the moment? You're not looking at
None
really
of
anybody.
them.
Are you? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
none of them.
so again, a Jada Parker or a Lola Vice, but again, at the moment, it is pretty stacked. So hopefully, like we said, the summer can be kind to NXT. And again, if we're hearing talk about Mike Santana or Leon Slater comes across, or Takahashi's success in NXT, then we're laughing, aren't we, in the next 6 months? But again, we're not sure because this is
Yeah,
NXT.
you never
Uh,
know. You never know, man.
so I think we'll leave it like that. That is it. We'll catch up with the remaining episode of NXT on the next update, obviously, but we'll leave it for now because I think we've done enough. Don't forget, we're across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
At my Monster Pod on X.
Perfect. The Dublin also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email to Podcast at gmail.com and YouTube, the Dublin Podcast, where we're celebrating 11 years of the WNR with Schultz. I'm going to start up the I can't remember what it's called now. My Rise. I lost my voice shouting, so I will I will start playing it again. And of course, any event we go to, the podcast is live on YouTube, also on SoundCloud on your phone, on Spotify and iTunes. But you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be Backlash. Yes, Backlash. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you for joining me for what feels like the next era of NXT now as well.
No problem, no problem. Excited to always go into these new. I mean, again, I felt like how many times we've done this? It's like gotta be like the third or fourth new era. They're gonna change the logo and theme song again, right? It's coming, right?
Yeah, right now, but that is it. And thanks for listening.